music has that kind of like.
Absolutely.
Shh, we're on. We can't talk about ourselves in good lights anymore. Don't know that we like.
We only have to shit on each other and ourselves.
We should
And
only
Bluebird.
be talking about Gene.
Our perfect
Okay,
gene.
very
Good morning.
good.
Stay on topic.
Today
as per
is
you.
chapters 21
Yeah, where are we starting?
through 28.
Yeah, something like that.
I believe that starts.
Yeah, I mean
us-
that makes sense because we got through the 20 with the cart.
Yeah, it kind of
treasure
dissolved
on it.
last time.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah.
Oh my god, y'all, I watched the whole thing. I watched the whole thing and I was like, damn.
Yo, now
guys
you
are
hear
like,
that,
what?
you hear
they're
the
nothing
wrangle us,
without
and it's
us.
like, woo, hooray.
I forget, it just turned into like poop or like, it like devolved all the way down to like,
Was
It was
it?
because of the castle.
or
you know,
jizz,
the-
it was jizz, it was just talking about
Jizz?
jizz.
Oh, we talked about. Oh God.
That's what you
God.
did.
I
That's
don't
what
even
you did.
remember that.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what
That's
happened.
because of the Hermit's Tower. We were like lost in the, you know, like when you get lost going to the
Did
Hermit's
I talk
Tower.
about jizz?
Yeah, I think we all.
I think you probably
I
did.
think we all
Oh my
talked
God.
about jizz.
Oh wait, was it like
Who
a?
knows?
We'll talk about a
Find out if
viscous,
they're-
Alright, let's
viscous.
wait, we don't need to go
viscous
back into
liquid or
there.
something?
We don't need to go back into there. I just want you guys to know that I watched it.
There must have been more context to that. Is all I'm saying. We probably weren't just sitting around like, jizz. Like, what's your take?
It
on
wasn't
that?
much more than that. Actually.
I kind of remember it being that.
I recommend that you watch it.
How far through?
Now that Jen's
the
gone,
whole
let's talk about what we
Western
really want to talk
stagecoach
about.
I mean, it
I
really.
think we finished. I think we.
I think that's the last thing we talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we ended with the end peels.
And peels.
I
yeah,
think so.
peels, yeah.
The
Did we
angels.
talk
Sky
about that?
ladies.
I thought so.
I think that's the last thing I remember. I remember I was confused about what was going on with the mercenary party guarding the
Yeah.
the money load.
Yeah,
whatever
we
that
talked
was.
about-
followers.
Yeah,
Very confusing.
yeah, that whole thing.
The
So
load.
and then
Maybe why we were talking about jizz.
yep,
Ah.
bringing it all together.
Trying to go back. Trying to go
I'm
back.
just trying to
For
find that
Long
thread.
Sun people, doesn't this exact scene happen in the third book of Long Sun?
Cool.
What?
I don't remember my future of
Sky
reading.
ladies coming down from the
Oh,
sky.
that-
When those Arabic ladies come.
I was hoping you meant like the whole
Oh.
chapter.
Oh, like when the whole.
No, there's just. It's this kind of thing where like a scene is happening and then offhandedly he's like, and it ended when the Sky ladies came, and that's all you know
Yeah.
about them.
Yeah.
You get the whole army of Sky Ladies in Long Sun.
Yeah.
This is like a detachment of Sky Ladies.
And I love that their general is called a seraph.
Oh yeah, that's,
That's
cool.
cool. I love that word.
It's a good word.
That's a really good word.
That's nice.
Very nice.
All right, so then we're on to
21.
deployment, the actual
Battle.
Yeah, the
scene,
actual battle scene.
Which is weird.
He finds another lady to bother. She seems fine with it.
Wait, Daria?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Well, he bothered her
Back
a
Yeah.
little bit ago.
back
Right.
at that
Yeah, but he
mercenary camp.
continues to.
It was quite bothersome. It sounded like.
This is the time though when he does his like, all right, I'm hanging out with the girl. Let's go through every other girl I've ever hung
Yeah.
out with and talk about how they're different from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
And
can
the
count them
same.
on one hand.
Is this the one where we see? Oh, no, this isn't the chapter where he just starts describing like, so different kinds.
No,
of
this is the
soldiers.
pre-battle
Yeah.
chapter where he admits that he's afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's the build-up where he is. It's the anticipation. It's the anticipation of the battle chapter. Nothing really happens in it. Besides
Yeah.
him admitting out loud that he's afraid.
Yeah. I don't have
That's
any.
something.
I don't have any notes here.
I think it's what attracts Daria to him.
Yeah. Nothing hotter than a scared man.
Well,
It's,
It's more the-
it's vulnerability.
it's yeah. I mean, yeah. I think it's more like, oh, we're all afraid. He doesn't know that we're all afraid. That's an endearing thing, especially after their contentious meeting.
Right.
It does make you kind of want to take care of someone.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When I see somebody who's afraid, I usually want to take them under my wing and make them feel like everything's gonna be okay. Maybe I'm just an asshole.
Yeah, it does sound like an asshole move.
It's a classic asshole.
I kind of got the sense of this chapter and this sort of section in general is that Gene Wolfe is doing like I've read about war in books and it's not like that. I've been in war. It's like this kind of thing going on. Where he's
That's
like,
interesting that he was in the Navy, though, right?
I wasn't there.
I don't know.
I believe he was in the Navy.
He was in the
I believe-
Korean War.
Yeah, Korean
And-
War, but
yeah.
I don't know what do you call it?
And Navy battles aren't like this, I don't think.
No.
But he might have like
Yeah, because you're on boats.
got some kind of information about it. I don't know.
No, yeah.
So,
I'm just saying that I think Gene's experience of war is different than this.
probably. But
And,
maybe
and
maybe
you-
some of the same ideas are the same.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it might not be qualitatively different. Like, it might not be.
I mostly just wanted to acknowledge
That he was
naval
in the Navy.
and Army battles are different.
It
like
just says that he was drafted to fight in the Korean War. It doesn't say what branch of the military he was in.
Oh.
yeah.
I thought he was a naval engineer for some reason. I might have made that up.
I mean, that tracks. Yeah. Like a note I have about this chapter and the next chapter in general is that I feel like they're written. It's war fiction written from the point of view of a soldier who doesn't understand the war around them. And
Right.
like you get all these details, but they're like right from the ground, and like there's not a real sense of like why the fighting is happening. You know, no one else around him seems to know. It just seems like everyone's just in this big confusing mess. And I actually really appreciate if there's one thing I appreciate about this section, and in general I find this section kind of dull in comparison to others, but it's just like that seems interesting to me. Like he's in the war, but I don't understand the war. I mean, at this point in my reading, I don't know if it gets clarified later on.
Well, and then there's like the sheer kind of mass of it, like how many people are involved. Meanwhile,
And how
no
many
one in
different kinds of people.
Nessus like has any idea what the fuck is going on. Like it's
Yeah.
still like it's a huge thing that's happening, but everyone in
Yeah.
the city is like utterly detached.
Gene was a National Guardsman and was in the infantry during the
Oh, he was in the infantry.
Wow.
Okay, well, never
This
mind.
probably
This is
is a-
exactly what he was experiencing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It feels like that to me. It feels like somebody who's trying to be like, but no, the kind of fear is not what you think. It's
Yeah.
this kind of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
This
it's
like
very-
weirdness of
talks
being
about that.
flanked by people who are your allies, but you don't even know them. They seem like weird aliens
Yeah.
or small furry men.
Yeah, it's good. It's good war writing. Like it's interesting. Like when the actual battle starts, and they're just sort of like positioning themselves, and then like some mercenaries come up, and then they kind of reposition themselves, and then there's like an order to like charge, and then it's like, actually don't charge. You know, like it's interesting. It's not heroic. It's different than other fantasy writers. Obviously, would have treated this whole thing like the whole book completely differently, but certainly would have treated like a battle writing in a very different way. Whereas this sort of deals with House of Arians sort of afraid on a level that's almost subconscious. Like he's just shaking. Like he just knows that there's like terrifying something big is happening. He's like actually like reacting to this and shit. That seems like a lived-in detail. Just riffing here, but
Yeah.
it's interesting war writing in a fantasy context.
Do you have a copy of the lexicon?
Mm-mm.
See, I feel like the battle sections become so much more exciting when you have the lexicon.
Really?
Yeah.
I do, because there's so many cool little references to like weapons or types of soldiers.
Yeah,
that, like,
right.
you go look
That's-
it up and you're like, oh wow, that sounds
Yeah,
like there's a lot of cool visual things happening.
definitely.
When you know what the words mean,
Mm-hmm.
they like
Oh,
become
that's
so much more
awesome.
cool.
That's
That makes sense. Yeah, because I kind of let a lot of that stuff wash over.
Yeah,
Like going through and looking up every single weapon and how they differ from each other and what they do and stuff. That makes for a more stunning visual picture.
yeah, for sure.
But requires a bunch of weird work that who would do? You.
Michael
And us,
and
generally.
Andre Deruzzi.
Oh yeah, Andre Deruzzi.
Yeah, that seems. I would like to actually go through and relook at that. Like, I gotta find them. Maybe I'll find them when I go through. Sometimes there's these paragraphs where like Wolf just goes off, you know, and just like half the words are like those like obscure, great, you know,
Yeah.
like Wolf talking about weird weapons and animals things, or
Yeah.
Like this is a big CGI, like,
Yeah.
Totally.
like
Yeah.
summer blockbuster chapter
Yeah.
battle is.
Yeah.
But
Well,
you
it
need-
literally is because they're all like clones or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Well, and some of the infantrymen, I think, are the Mastiff people. Yeah, like because
Maybe.
when he's talking to the Mastiff person in the stagecoach, he goes through that whole thing of like, I thought it would just look like a dog man, but sometimes I would look at it and it would look like a dog, and sometimes it would look like a
Yeah.
man. I feel like when he's talking about, and then there were people who were even more savage than the savages, who were shaggy. I thought sometimes I saw them walking on all fours. Like, I think that's the same thing.
So what's happening there? Like that's like that's the kind of thing where it's there's a lot of that in these books where it's like, and I out of the corner of my eye, he really looked like Jonas. Like that, a lot of that's going on,
Mm-hmm.
which is like popping in and out of different kind of realities or different personalities existing in the same body, or
Or maybe a different part of you is apprehending it when you're not. Like when your ego is directed at something, you're getting one really clear picture, but when your ego's not, like
Yeah.
like your
Your
peripheral
peripheral,
vision,
yeah.
is can be perceptive in a different way.
yeah.
Well, I feel like it always is in conjunction with a behavioral kind of thing. You know, like it's people keep telling him, I thought that you were a woman when I was just listening
Yeah.
to you move or watching you move around. You seem like a woman. And so I think it's more of a state of mind rather than physical changes, and that's why it's always out of the corner
Right,
of my eye. 'Cause
right.
when you look at it, you're
Uh-huh.
looking at it. Well, when you're just aware of it,
right.
I think.
Well, it's like how your mind fills in the blanks of reality. Like you're not constantly processing all of reality, like
Right.
all of your surroundings at one time. You're just processing like little chunks of it,
Yeah.
and the rest gets filled in.
Yeah.
I really like this line: "By each step in war, the winner loses." I just think that's an interesting thing.
Yeah. By each step in war, the winner loses.
Yeah.
It's like a winner is already there, but by the war continuing, you win a little less.
Yeah. You had the cost, just keeps going up.
Yeah.
It's just like no one wins war, kind of too.
You're
Or
never
like-
in that
Yeah.
positive.
I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
it's hurting everyone.
Can we do a couple of these in the lexicon?
Yeah, we
'Cause
should.
I
Yeah, what do you want?
The Chirkajis.
Yeah, I'd like
talk
to know about that
them.
Hobilers.
Hobilers.
Cobilers?
I'll take
Hobilers.
Chirkajis.
Hobiler camp.
Oh, I was pronouncing that hobbler and thought it had something to do with how you hobble a horse.
They're like
But I didn't look that one up because I felt like
All it says is that it's a historically a light cavalry of Persia. That's all it says in here. It's a Persian cavalry term.
they
What-
fight with those women on the bear elephants' backs.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that was cool.
Oh yeah.
The like virginal.
Yeah, like their skin is like so soft that they can't even lay down without bruising. And they have to like bathe or they have to lay down in mud if there's no pillows. For
Which
them.
makes me think that they're
So weird.
artificially beautiful like Jolenta. He compares them to
Right,
Jolenta
yeah.
so many times.
Yeah.
And that is such a neat, weird character because it sounds like when I first get it, it's like, oh, this is some like George Lucas freaky something from another world. But then when you get the explanation that like when you see this beautiful woman of your culture like charging ahead, you're not gonna not follow. You're
Right.
gonna be like consumed by this desire to like protect and impress that beautiful woman.
Yeah.
That it keeps like it's like a morale thing.
It's like a cheerleader.
Yeah. Oh, like a
weird
a
alien war
weaponized
cheerleader.
cheerleader.
Yeah.
It's also interesting when Daria is saying to Misrop and Severian, yeah, you two want them, but they would destroy you because if you went to get them, their animals would run you over and then come back and run you over again. So that's not them destroying Mesrop and Severian. I think it's the relationship between lady and beast is interesting there.
Well, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Like, or when he sees the dwarves who are getting carried on taller
Yeah.
Yeah.
men, and he thinks they're
I love
centaurs at first. It's so strange.
Yeah, I'm really excited about those soldiers.
The double guys.
Little guys on big guys.
Yeah.
Little guys on big guys.
Master Blaster.
.com.
Master Blaster for sure. Duck.
LittleGuysOnBigGuys.com.
Stay tuned.
I mean, that just sounds like a website. That's all I'm saying.
It does.
Little guys on big guys.
I also like this part where Thekla laughs at him.
Which page?
At the bottom of 317. He sees Daria like ride past him, and he says, "I knew then how the custom of the Shirkajis had begun, and I tried to charge faster still, so that she should not die. Though Thekla laughed through my lips at the thought."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's just like a really great vibe line.
And then you find out that
I just love the
destroyers,
vibe.
like,
I love the vibe
hover.
of that line so much.
Well, because the Destriers can move their legs faster than we can see.
right, so they just skim the ground.
Yeah, real horses actually kind of have
Yeah, I guess
like
so.
moments when their feet aren't on the ground. They're running so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Destriers are more extreme.
Yeah, like horses to the extreme.
I like when he's talking about
Horse extreme!
their teeth and how sometimes they augment the teeth with metal. But
Yeah.
these ones, they didn't do anything to them, so the teeth grew as God intended, and they were like coming out of its mouth like knives.
Yeah, I guess
It's
you
so-
can see a little bit of that.
It's so fun the more you realize the Destriers aren't horses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I never want to. I don't know.
Yeah.
This, I guess, like this is a very like summer blockbuster thing, but I never want to see anybody trying to do it.
I hope not. Well, yeah, you're right. Because
Like it just.
Oh, God,
won't,
it would
just
ruin
won't
everything.
Get there.
if
You can't even get there by reading it.
You're right.
Yeah,
Well, that's
exactly.
Like, you
that's,
can't get there from the
that's-
movie. You can't even get there from reading it.
That's why this endures as like literature. Like this is a great book because he like uses the artifice of like using words to tell a story like so brilliantly so that your
Yeah.
imagination just gets all scrambled.
Yeah, it's
See
not.
a serpent
it's not a
in the
story
second-
that
what is
it?
translates to other media.
See
Yeah,
a
the
serpent
visual storytelling,
in
you'd
the
have to be very
second
clever
to
to do it. It would
last
have to be
letter in the sword
psychedelic.
in the last
Maybe
letter.
animation.
He kind of hacks
Maybe.
the meaning of words to use words in a new way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Or
don't know.
in a very unique
I
way.
feel-
In
I mean-
summary, we like Gene Wolfe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
We like this is good.
I mean, I could see.
Good
I
book,
could see
good.
maybe like it would just the take would just have to be really out there. I think.
Yeah.
Like it would have to be a singular take. Like.
Yeah.
Kind of think.
Sure. Or it would have to be like a Mobius comic or
You'd-
something. You know, where
you'd
it's
have to
just
find
like
a way to
everything is so
visually
abstracted and
visually
different.
adapt Wolfe's approach to language. You'd have to think of a way to do that visually, so
Yeah.
it wouldn't be
Ooh, a lot of
conventional.
like visual metaphor and stuff.
or a lot of shifting and changing.
Yeah.
Like different scenes would look differently, and like to keep the audience confused or to keep
I
the
guess,
audience like
I guess
trying to guess.
it could
at things.
possibly work
It can't be
as
done.
theater,
It'd be hard.
but not as.
Yeah, I think it would
better,
be way
better as theater.
way more acceptable as theater.
Because theater's
Right.
the same thing. You have to use your imagination.
Yeah, there are gaps
Yeah.
that you just gotta fill in.
But it'd have to be a theater piece that you could watch over and over and over again and was like 25 hours long.
It would be like
Some
a,
people have made
a weird
that
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
ring cycle, like a weird fucking 20-hour
yeah, like
opera
a wild ass opera.
that you went to every night for a week, and yeah, it would be really surreal.
Yeah. Anything less is a farce.
Yeah, but it's interesting to think about how this would be adapted, and I think there are like rumors online of it, being adapted.
Where
I know
have you seen those
I know we
rumors?
come back to this from time to time. I've seen rumors that it's been like optioned.
Oh, weird.
Yeah,
I've not seen that at all.
Yeah,
hope it never happens.
it's always
I want to
It
go
never
on.
will.
I want to go on record and say I hope it never happens.
Yeah.
I think I closed
Yeah.
it.
There's no way that it would ever happen.
It can't. It just can't. It's
This
too
isn't
crazy.
popular
It's
enough.
too crazy, and it's also like
Yeah, it's not even like Dune.
it would make
levels
people.
Of, like,
I think the story would make people very upset.
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
It wouldn't-
because
it
they'd be
wouldn't
like, I
do
don't
well.
know what it is.
It
I
wouldn't
think
do
a lot
well
of the
now.
content would upset people.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it
That's-
upsets me.
yeah.
And I think
Part of it.
reading
It
those-
doesn't not upset me.
But reading those things and seeing them as much different, and I think like I like watching weird shit and when weird shit happens and fucked up shit. But not everyone. That's not okay for everyone.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I also think that this is not a story. I feel like the way that people consume literature in the larger sense of the word, like the cross medium sense of the word, like they identify with content, you know? And this is not a book where you're supposed to identify with the content,
Yeah.
you're supposed to identify with the craft of it more.
Yeah. It's not
Yeah.
about what happens.
Like
Yeah.
what is cool is the craft. It
Definitely.
ain't cool what happens in this book.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like, yeah, I'll have more to pick up on what you're saying now. I don't know if now is an appropriate time. Because now we're getting to the end, and I'm kind of like reflecting on the whole novel in general now, like as a piece of art. And I have had the same thought that it's really a piece of craftsmanship that you appreciate in that level. And and this is just something I've been thinking recently, is that it almost seems a little like autistic as a book. Like,
My argument is that Severian is autistic.
really?
Yeah,
It seems
totally
like as a
is autistic.
book, it seems like this brilliantly constructed thing, but it's so beguiling how you really never get to know the characters or like what's happening really, or like you don't understand anyone. I don't know, like it doesn't register as a piece of emotional like storytelling to me at all. Even I don't know. I have to like develop this more, but it's like philosophical. Like, there's a lot of thinking in it, but it seems unfeeling. It seems very cold.
As if perhaps your entire life you were raised by the torturers.
Right. You're right.
And
Yeah.
therefore have no empathy
Right.
for humans.
Right. Right. It's on. It
Right.
totally makes sense. But just as a piece of art, like as a book, like it's like a clock. You know, I don't feel for it. I don't think. I think it just appeals to my brain.
When recommending this book to other people, I describe it as a sculpture
Yeah.
that like you don't. It's not a story
Yeah.
where like one thing comes after another. It's you explore pieces of it.
Yeah.
It's a
in your
hologram.
own- Yeah. Very much so.
Or a
Very
dream.
much so.
Or
It's the hologram Bible in that Philip K. Dick book.
What?
I talk about this all the time.
Yeah,
I'm
you
definitely
Yeah,
talking about
I think you
You
have.
have to-
I'm not
If-
claiming you've never talked about it. I don't know what you're referring to.
it.
Right
In
now.
my favorite Philip K. Dick book, which is the Divine Invasion.
Oh,
I
I
The
only read
Bible
that
is
a
like
while
a
ago.
hologram that you interact with that has all these different color layers in it, and you can kind of like hone in on one
Oh man, I don't remember that.
color
at all.
layer to like think about one part of the Bible, like one element of the Bible.
Mhm.
It's like it's a 4-dimensional object
Yeah.
that you interact with that way. It's not, the Bible isn't a book. It's like, it's been taken out of even the physical form of a book, and it's
Mhm.
been turned into the hologram Bible.
I think that's what the
Which is what this is.
wants. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think the Wikipedia wants to be that. I think that the Principia Cybernetica, if anybody was into that website,
What's
No.
that?
I don't know.
it was a website that I would go to a lot in 2003. That was just about like, it was internet people identifying what the internet is and what cybernetics are and how they work. And it was in the early 2000s, so like Wikipedia hadn't come out yet or anything like that. But it behaved like a book, but you could turn the page in any direction. So like going in different directions would, like normally you turn a page like this and things progress in a straight line, And you could do that, but you could also turn the pages backwards, which would cause the information to change in one way, or up, or down, or towards you, ostensibly. And that would be following a different path of the information. It was a really interesting website that I don't think exists anymore.
Sounds good.
But yeah, it's sculptures of information.
Yeah.
And that's how
But
dreams are too. There's no causes and like dreams don't have cause and effect. They don't have a timeline. Like each part of the dream is its own like information to be like meditated upon, but it does not proceed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is also supposed to how you're supposed to look at Renaissance paintings too. Like everything's happening all at once.
But it's not. But so it's like the characters don't even really matter. Like it doesn't really matter.
Not in the way that it would in other books. Like it.
Well,
really,
because it's not a book. Like
Yeah. Right.
it doesn't. Like what Connor was
It's a
saying. Like
mind.
it doesn't matter what happens in the thing.
Yeah.
Like the events and characters
Yeah.
aren't the point. The
Yeah.
events and characters are like, paraphernalia or whatever.
Yeah.
Can you think of other like literary work that does something similar?
Like
I mean, the Bible.
like postmodernist
I mean, it's
stuff.
to me, it's
like language experiments.
The
you
Sound
know,
of
like
the Theory by William Faulkner.
Ooh.
Where you
But-
spend the
Or
whole
the-
beginning in that guy's head.
Yeah, but,
Finnegan's Wake.
yeah, but that's
Finnegan's Wake,
it's.
yeah.
Seems like the obvious.
I don't know. I feel like this has more to do with like French fucking experimental dudes in the 50s and 60s, just like coming up with like weird language experiments, like whatever that stuff is called, like
Oulipo.
yeah,
it,
stuff
yeah.
like I feel like in spirit it's closer to that. Like it's.
But it
just
has
like,
to have a whole like cosmology.
yeah, right. I mean, it's different, but it's like, I don't know, like, because obviously this has story, like things are happening, like there is a narrative, but the spirit of it just seems like mechanical to me.
And there's the weird ghost
It's a
of
robot.
Kabbalah hanging over the whole thing too.
Yeah.
Which is
I mean,
never,
there's a lot of ghosts.
there's a lot of ghosts, but like it's interesting to have engineering, ex-military,
Catholic, Kabbalah.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
how do these things go? Like they don't integrate like in
Pringles.
an easy way.
Yeah, and I don't read a lot of religious texts, but I imagine that the Bible analogy is probably pretty good, because they don't really go into people's heads and talk about how they're feeling in the Bible. Right?
No, it's allegory.
They're
It's
just going
not
around
meant.
doing shit.
It's not
Yeah.
about them. It's about.
Right.
It's about this symbology of like what that represents
Right.
in the universe.
Right,
or
right,
whatever.
right.
In
And-
like it's like you're trying to describe the structure of reality, which cannot be described.
Right.
And you definitely can't describe it trying to like be some nonfiction or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that gets you even further. Like I think nonfiction is further from reality than fiction is,
Hell yeah.
Right.
I
which
find
is
that
why
tells the
I
truth.
think science fiction is the truest form of nonfiction. That's my personal feeling.
I mean, before we invented science fiction,
Or
all stories
poetry.
were science fiction.
Yeah.
Also-
I would
what?
say. Before we invented science fiction, all stories were science fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Wolf's definitely aware of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely playing with that.
Like mythology.
I mean,
The Bible is science fiction. I mean, like angels and demons. And
anything
shit.
where you're not like, I only believe in the things that I can see.
Yeah.
As soon as you start acknowledging that your thoughts might have some kind of reality, that becomes sci-fi. I think.
Yeah.
Like, sci-fi is only ever true when somebody is telling you, well, that didn't happen. And at one point I feel like people acknowledged that things they imagined were happening in some way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Like, I think it took the Victorians
Yeah. Yeah.
getting down on everybody
Right.
for us to be able to say, oh, well, then I
This
can
is
write about this
imaginary.
submarine because it's sci-fi.
Right. This is imaginary now. I
Even though the Académie Française said we cannot talk about heavier than air flying machines anymore. You
Yeah.
can do it because it's sci-fi.
that's
Yeah.
that's an interesting take. So it kind of like regulates the imaginative fiction, like in a way, like the Victorians kind of defined it and like kind of set it down in a way, like this is no longer the ideal way of telling stories or the ideal content for a story to have. Like we should be talking about like social mores and interpersonal conflicts among people and the thoughts and lives that we live instead of thinking about the the angels and the raining down locusts and shit.
Although if you acknowledge that stuff as like unreal, whatever, that frees the potential of that, because you're no longer bound by this like, well, this has to have some kind of like reasonable explanation. Like you can become detached from the mooring of reality entirely. I think that's where things get really fun.
Yeah.
It's a very strange attitude that like things that are imagined are like basically child's like ramblings. And that's like not a, I don't know, that's like a
Well, children are infinitely more in touch with actual reality than adults are.
Yeah, for sure.
and I guess so we have to denigrate. It's weird, like you have to denigrate the in order to
Yeah, because it's not useful for like capital. Like
Right.
Yep.
yeah. Just punch the clock and shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You can't
Parts.
control people's people's use of their imagination can never be controlled. But I guess the best thing you can do is denigrate it.
Yeah.
Is make everyone think that their imagination is this sort of extra.
I mean, this is what they do to Bernie Sanders.
I feel like they try to make people think their imagination is something to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, if you ever go out into the real world, if you like Mark, I know you work with like regular people and shit. I do too.
Have you ever
Squares for sure.
And if you're working with like squares and they see you like reading something like this, they're gonna be like, you're a
what
child,
this was,
right? Like you're
yeah.
a derpy like kid.
Yeah, when I would
Like-
read this at the movie theater, if people would come in and say, "What is that?" I'd have to be like, "It's this, but it transcends the genre. It transcends the genre."
Right.
It's funny too, though, how
Self-consciously.
if you're reading old enough history, the same effect happens.
Mhm.
That like stories that are old, even if they're square, it'll be like, okay, that's a nonfiction book. I'll give you that. But it's fucking weird that you're reading about like 900 years ago or 2,000 years ago. That's based, like you get the same reaction that way.
It's because we can't have facts about that.
Or even-
period
I
of
mean,
time. It's as imaginary as nonfiction.
You even have
because
things
we
like-
just know they had this pot, and that's all we know.
Right.
Yeah.
But even like philosophy gets looked like you tell some like I tell someone that I have a philosophy
If
degree
you're
and it's
reading
immediately like
anything,
whatever,
Dude,
like
if
that's
you're-
fucking
it's
useless.
true if you're reading
Yeah.
And
anything
it's-
but like the Goldfinch or whatever.
Right.
the fuck,
Right.
Like
right.
New York Times.
Right.
like,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
unless you're reading something
Yeah.
on the top
I
10 New York
know.
Times fiction.
Right.
Yeah, it's
People
like,
are
it's
like-
how dare
Yeah.
you want to
You
think
know, like,
about something
the
in
red
a more
tent.
deeply.
Yeah.
Like you gotta
Yeah.
read like
Something-
You gotta read like the girl
Yeah.
with the dragon
The
tattoo.
I have a
girl
weird
who
chip
looked
on my
at the
shoulder about
moon.
Murakami because of this. I just can't enjoy Murakami because it seems
It's
like
like
it's
what we're
shoved
supposed to
down
be
your
liking.
throat.
too
Yeah.
acceptable.
Yeah.
I just won't. I mean, I can't read. I can't read.
Murakami was cool before everyone was reading him. It's true.
I just have this experience.
It's true.
It probably was. I just have an experience where when someone sees me reading, they're like, "Oh, you like reading? Then you will like Murakami." And I'm like,
Right.
Right.
"What an idiotic thing to say! I'm
Right.
never going to read this guy."
Right. Right.
I personally am such like I have been such an asshole for my whole life that I like, that I can't. It's like if there's a certain number of people that have like read a thing or like watched it, like I was like I'm not
Yeah.
gonna see Avatar
Yeah.
or whatever.
That happens
Okay.
But
to me
it's
too.
like
do
I
that.
just
It's
like
too rich to
can't
watch.
do it.
Too popular.
Not that it's too popular, but it's almost like there has to be someone on Earth who hasn't watched it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not part of, like, I just can't.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
part of my personality.
Yeah.
It's like,
Contrarian.
I'm a contrarian.
Yeah.
I was,
Like
I
essential.
like,
I'm
was,
the same.
came out of the
You just
womb
got to be
that way,
careful
I'll be right
about
back.
that as you get older, because then you start missing out on the things that everyone else knows about. You know.
Boo hoo.
I
Well, you
know.
gotta
I
live-
know.
We live in a society.
But I mean, if it's something, but if
I'm
it's
just-
something that
I'm-
I'm actively interested in,
Right,
I would
for sure.
do
I
it or
understand.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, just for the sheer fact
I
that it's
know.
like I will not watch Game of Thrones. Like I can't
Yeah.
do that shit. Like I just can't do it.
That's a good one though.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones is actually.
I mean, Game of Thrones. Is
I
pretty
can't
fun.
do it. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna
Well,
watch
that's-
Game of Thrones ever in my
Have
life.
you seen
Legit.
Parasite?
Yes,
Did you like it?
I loved it.
Yeah, I
But
loved it
was,
too.
I was
like that's
genuinely
an
interested.
interesting
Yeah.
moment. It's
I was
really nice when that kind
genuinely
of thing
interested in
happens.
seeing that though. Like
Yeah.
this is what
Right,
I'm saying.
right,
is
right,
like,
right. You're not gonna watch
I'm
it for the sake of.
dogmatically not
Yeah.
watch something that I
Yeah.
want to see because of that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I'm also definitely not gonna watch it because of that, which I
Right.
think a lot of people do.
Yeah, I
definitely.
got you.
I remember
Makes sense.
my in high school, my friend Corey was and still is like a movie guy.
Yeah.
And he would get all of these free passes to like screenings and stuff for movies that they were doing test screenings or whatever. And so I went and saw all these like free movies with him. And he had this one friend who would come with us sometimes, and that guy's whole theory of like film criticism was the more money a movie makes, the better it is. because if
everybody
if
likes
everybody
it, it
likes
must be good.
it has to be good. And that drove me insane because I was also an asshole and am an asshole. And so just like, no, like that can't possibly be the case. But there's like every now and then when something like Parasite like breaks through and it's like this is like really good and really enjoyable, and then it manages to gain the most mainstream acceptance.
But also,
I haven't
it
been
won.
able to watch Parasite.
But
That's
also,
good.
it won an Oscar or whatever. But most people in America have not seen
Yeah.
that movie. Like,
Yeah.
it's not Avatar. Like,
Yeah.
It's not- it's certainly not
three-quarters
Avatar.
of the country has not, at least,
I
has
Did
not
Avatar
seen that
win an
movie.
Oscar?
No,
It's
but
a visual
I'm not
effects
talking
Oscar
about,
or
like,
something, but,
I'm just saying Parasite is
That's
not
true.
what I'm
Well,
talking
Best
about.
Picture-
Like, I'm not talking about something.
Best Picture is typically not an indicator of actual like popular acceptance, but
It's
Well,
an
it's
indicator
like-
that somebody got shafted years earlier.
or
Yeah.
that it's like the Academy is like, okay, this is the year that we like say that this is valuable.
Yeah.
And also,
this
like,
kind of thing
everyone,
is
but my
valuable.
point is, like, everyone we know saw that movie, but, like,
Yeah, most people have not.
most theaters didn't play that fucking movie.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Landmark downtown didn't play that fucking. Like, you have to have an
Yeah.
art movie theater in your town, which most towns don't have anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying it's not the same thing. Like,
yeah.
Parasite and Avatar are not the same thing.
I don't know.
I'm trying to make this argument.
That's a
I'm trying to make this
controversial
argument right now.
take.
I think Avatar is
This
much
book is
like
kind of
Parasite.
like Parasite meets
I think all things
Avatar.
are.
It's like meets Avatar.
If they could collide, you'd probably have.
The next time someone asks me to describe this, I'll be like, it's kind of like Parasite meets Avatar.
And just see what they do with that.
Like it looks really
Okay.
beautiful, but you can't really know what they're saying until you read the subtitles.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
So
Alright,
how
so
did
next
Maybe
chapter.
we
supposed
should go
to be
back
in a
into the
war.
actual book.
We're in a war.
Well, yeah. So a bunch of shit happens, and then sort of in where does it happen in The Hobbit, where Bilbo gets like trapped under a bunch of bodies or something and he just like misses the end of the battle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that kind of happens here
It's a
too,
Hobbit.
where it's like he just like basically blacks out, and then the next thing you know is like the battle is over and he's getting found.
So,
Yeah.
I just want to make a technical note here, that there are clones on both sides. Like, both armies are clone armies, which I think is really weird.
Is the Shans a clone society? Because it seems like most of their soldiers are not soldiers. They're just like
It's just their people.
yeah,
Yeah.
oppressed people.
I can't stop myself from thinking of them as just being Vietnamese.
I feel like there's a lot to talk about with communism.
Where
Mhm.
are they
Yeah.
Vietnamese?
It's
In my head only.
right.
Like the combination of it sounding like Asia
Right.
and the communism
I think
and that they live in North America made me feel like
But he
at
was in the
some point-
Korean War, like, they wouldn't...
they're not in North America though. They're across
he's
the
writing
equator,
much-
right?
he's
he's
writing-
from the north. This
Right,
is
they're
all
from-
based
they're
on
from
like
the north.
when I was reading this originally in the first books. This is just what my mind.
I've always seen them as like Spartans or something, you know, like a really like militaristic Greek society.
Emaciated Spartans.
Yeah.
That's how I pictured the dude in the Pellerine camp when I first read them. But the more and more
Right.
description happens, the more it seems like Wolfe is clearly drawing parallels
Well, I
to
guess,
communism.
yeah, I mean, I guess
China.
with the like approved, like the correct thought kind of has the like Little Red Book vibe, or
Yeah.
something like that.
That's what it seems. It seems. I feel like Wolfe is saying that. I feel like Wolfe is saying this is like the logical extension. Like there was the communist side of Earth, and there was like the whatever fucking libertarian
The
side.
West.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like the Ashaeans are the communists. You know, to their like ideal, they're all like just one thing. And Wolfe, I feel like, is being a little critical. You know.
Yeah.
A little.
I feel like I've said this before, but it's really strange to read this now, at this age, at this time in history, because of growing up through the Cold War and being like given this innate reaction that anytime someone criticizes communism, to distrust them. You know, like having gone through Red Dawn,
Yeah.
like an era where so much entertainment that was like and popular culture had this like communism's bad and it sucks,
Right.
we can never have that.
Mhm.
And then getting a little older and realizing like that is like propaganda that's awful, and there's a lot of things about communism we should have. And then now I'm at the point where I feel like I have to adjust, I have to moderate that reaction.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm like I feel like okay, he's criticizing
Yeah.
communism here, and my gut is to be distrustful, but then
Right.
also I do feel a lot of what he's saying about this like extension
Yeah.
of community to the point where like it's destructive to
It's-
the people in it.
He makes
Yeah,
it.
I
there's
think
bad.
he's
There's
also-
bad communism.
Yeah, it's
I
a
think he's
legitimate
also-
critique.
Saying good things about it.
Right. He's got
In
both.
this reading of it, I feel like Gene Wolfe is saying that we're wrong and the Asians are right. A lot.
Oh.
I do. It's
Hmm.
weird.
Do you think he's saying that, or do you think he's
Well-
just saying like,
As much as
oh,
he
there's
says
more
anything.
here than
Exactly. I'm seeing that there's all sorts of qualities of the Asians that seem positive. Like
think- yeah.
in the Lazarette,
Right.
the Asian is the one that wins.
Yeah, he gets the
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah. And
Like,
yeah, and we
there's
see our
an empathy that they have that Severian clearly doesn't.
and we're forced to see that we are like them. We are like we're not better than them. We're just do the same thing in a different way. But there's a lot about the Ashaeans that is terrifying, and that is like
Yeah, like they're going into
Right.
battle and they don't even get the weapons until like it's like
'Cause they just
until
wanna
it's
kill
time
themselves.
to do it right now.
Because their
Yeah.
lives are just so pointless, and they just exist as one. Are they kind of like Borg like?
like organic.
There's like
war.
there's
That's
like
what
one
they're
or two
trying to
sentences.
Borg,
in there.
Borg.
Right, right. That's what I mean. Yeah, like just in terms of their like
Yeah, instead of-
psychology.
Instead of technology, it's just indoctrination.
But then it doesn't actually seem like it works that way based on his like conversation, or like the storytelling parts. You know, in the
I mean,
Lazarette.
it works to a degree. Right?
Yeah.
Like they can only say things from those books.
Right. Right. But are they individuals?
It's,
Well, they obviously are because that
Yeah,
guy.
'cause,
But
like, that
he's
guy
also
removed-
a translator.
we're only seeing soldiers.
Yeah.
Soldiers that have
Sure.
contact with people who are not from that. I think in the culture, it's probably a different story.
Again, though,
It
when
seems
they
like
talk, when
everybody
he
is
describes
soldiers.
the army, yeah, it's like little girls, old ladies. Like he's saying, he seems to give the impression that these people are just press ganged because they need bodies, and
Yeah.
so Ashaeans just go to war. They're not necessarily trained soldiers.
Well, and Master Ash kind of says a thing when he's like, so you're seeing more people. Are
Yeah.
they the same people? Are
Yeah,
they different
yeah,
people?
yeah.
Are they like? And then he implies that,
That means that they're running out of soldiers, right?
well,
Yeah.
there's another possibility where he says, oh, a new player is going to come into the field.
Mm-hmm.
And then mentions Erebus and Abaya.
Right.
And so I think it's just that they know that their monsters are going to come out of the sea and win soon. Is I think is why all of the women and children are coming into the war.
Because if they stay home, the monster will eat them, or because
No, it's because they know, like, well, let's send everybody out there because we're going to drop a nuclear bomb soon. Like, we're going to end the war. Get everybody out there. We're ending it.
Everybody gets some time on the field type thing.
I'll look for the thing so that I can make
The
more
ash
sense.
part?
Yeah. It's
Oh,
back
yeah.
with ash.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mean when he's talking about the three possibilities?
Right, and then
Yeah.
he goes on to mention Erebus and Abaya.
Either they're getting
And from
desperate.
that, I was like, oh, that's why there's more people. Cause
It's in
those
284.
Erebus and
Right. So it is 283. When one side in a long war shows sudden strength, it is usually for one of three reasons. The first is that it has formed some new alliance. Do the soldiers of these new armies differ in any way from those in the old?
No.
Yes, I've heard they are younger and on the whole less strong, and there are more women among them. No differences in tongue or dress. And for the present, we can dismiss an alliance. Second possibility is the termination of another war fought elsewhere.
Mhm.
If that were so, the reinforcements would be veterans. You say they are not, thus only the third remains. For some reason, your foes have need of an immediate victory and are
Mhm.
straining every limb.
Mhm.
See, I think it's the first option.
You think it's an alliance with the monsters?
Yeah.
But they've always been allied with Erebus.
Oh yeah, aren't they sent by? Like, aren't they servants of Erebus?
Yes, but Erebus and Abaya haven't been in this war. Like,
Well,
I'm
here's
saying that I
themselves.
think that they think that that Abaya is going to come out of the ocean and attack itself. So they're just like, oh, this is the big push.
Well, so
Everybody out
Severian
there.
asks, like, why do they need immediate victory? And Ash says, I don't know, but perhaps their leaders fear their people who've sickened of the war. Perhaps all the Ashaeans are only servants, and their masters now threaten to act for themselves.
Yeah.
So I think that might jive with your idea.
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be implying that the masters are going to be like, oh, you can't do it, you fucking assholes. All right, I got to come do it, and then they'll be mad at their servants?
I'm not sure because upon reading that this time, I started wondering what happens between book 4 and book 5. Like,
Yeah.
what happens to this war during Severian's Autarch?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows?
I mean, there are
Who
more
knows?
wars. Like, he talks about that in Earth. And it's sort of like becomes old hat
I
at a certain point.
I just think that creatures the size of mountains
I
enter
know.
into this war soon, and I want to see that.
I wish it happened.
Gene ain't gonna give it to you.
You'll just
Gotta-
hint at
Yeah,
giant,
no, you
giant
can-
I mean,
sea
is that being
monsters.
too literal? Is not large armies that are the servants of Erebus and Abaya the presence of Erebus and Abaya?
I don't know.
Just a thought.
There's a lot of mystery surrounding this.
Oh, Gene. I mean, yes, I agree with you in our world. However, the presence of things like Juturna and Baldanders makes me think that eventually, whatever's underneath the Saltus in those mines that walks with feet the size of cities, like, I think that there's actually some monsters in this too. I think there's a giant eel someplace
Cool.
in a living
A
fire.
snakefish?
Yeah.
Snakefish.
Why do you think that?
Abaya is a snakefish.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do we want to talk about the next chapter?
23?
Yeah.
The pelagic Argosy.
I think this is where it picks up for me a little.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of
The war's over. We
Like,
hate
yeah,
the war
like
part.
shit
So
starts
boring, so
happening
boring.
Right.
on a Severian level, I guess, instead of on this
Yeah.
bigger level that
Yeah.
he's just a part of.
He stops being scared shitless and starts having some personality.
He gets picked up by an elephant. That's exciting.
Oh, that's like the episode of The Simpsons where Bart gets an elephant.
Stampy.
Oh, Stampy.
With his friend.
Oh,
Right? That's
yeah.
what happens, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't remember that episode.
I think it's one of the later ones.
Yeah, it's probably a
Because
little
I watched
later.
it through high school, and I didn't realize that I watched it for so long. I think I watched through like the 12th season.
Jesus Christ.
I
Yeah.
know.
probably did.
It's probably it was probably watching.
It's on,
maybe-
like, what,
maybe like
25
15 or
now?
16.
Yeah, maybe even more than that, because like Alan was going through, and he was like, yeah, there's like scenes and like what we think of as later seasons. Obviously, there's more, but
I got out of The Simpsons when they started having guest stars in like every episode, but I don't really know when that happened.
It's trying to make it feel like Scooby-Doo.
It's like Bart is vying for girls' attention. She's voiced by Reese Witherspoon.
I see.
You know, like things
Yeah,
like that.
I
I'm
see.
like,
Ricky Gervais is his rival.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just gets
Ew,
a little bit.
really? Or
Or
you
stuff
thinking
like
of
that.
Yeah, that was. I feel like that's my.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't seen Simpsons in years, and that's my idea of what it is. Is like
Okay.
it's
I
like
gotcha.
it pan and the camera moves over and Dead Mouse is like that's crazy. Dead Mouse.
It's still good. It's still happening, right?
Yeah.
That is
It's- that-
fascinating.
wait.
Still happening.
At some point,
yeah,
I heard that
but
there was
like
a
it's
final
happening.
season.
It's
Right.
still happening.
Like they're making it.
Yeah.
Maybe
It
it's
is.
maybe it's been
That's
scheduled.
amazing.
I don't know.
Yeah, for 20 years
the
from now.
you know the movie that they made was not bad. It was like
Yeah, I only watched it once.
surprisingly good.
Was that one of those situations where like
I would
Matt
watch
Groening
that.
comes back and runs the show?
I don't know. I don't know if he had anything to do
I
with
don't
it.
know.
I might not have.
It was good because you see Bart's penis.
Yeah, you do see his penis.
Is
like
that
the
true?
new Batman.
What?
But you see the new Batman series?
Jordan was like, what?
Don't you think?
Batman's penis?
Don't you think?
The Batman that's about to come up, you think that we'll see his penis in that?
I do think we'll see.
You think we're going to see Charlie Cox's penis?
Is this
Isn't that the
based
guy?
on
No, it's
anything?
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
Robert
well, then
Pattinson.
I don't care.
Yeah, I mean,
Charlie
whose
Cox.
penis are they going to show? They're going
Wait,
to show
that's
Robert
Ed?
Pattinson.
It's the vampire man that looks like
Yeah.
Ed?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, maybe I do want to see his penis. Because I hear Ed has a big penis.
Interesting.
Robert Pattinson or Ed?
Ed.
Ed.
I
And
find it hard to
Batman
imagine.
looks exactly like
I
Ed, therefore
find it
his
hard.
penis looks like Ed's penis.
I
Oh, he
find it
does
hard
kind of
to
look like
imagine that you haven't seen Ed's dick.
I haven't.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nobody has.
Good for
Except
life
for-
has been
I
pushing me
finished
to.
it.
No,
Oh yeah, I was just
Liz
moving
King
it
has
out
it. Okay.
his face.
Gross.
that's how we all know about it.
Let's not devolve into what happened last time. All right, let's go back in here. Does
All right,
anyone
we're on-
have anything else to say
We're
about
on
that
23. I think.
actual?
We're talking about this one now. We moved.
You switched.
The pelagic
okay.
argosy is
Okay.
sighted land.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that means the Autarch.
Yep. So he gets scooped up by the Autarch's elephant and put on his little flyer.
I wrote dork in the margin right here.
Who you calling a dork?
Severian, obviously.
What part?
When he says, "It is the worst of bad manners to state
Yeah.
openly that one has penetrated incognito."
Yeah,
like
so
he's
dorky.
such a fucking dork. Like he thinks that.
I also
like,
underlined that.
ugh, it's just so annoying. He's so annoying.
Why is the Autarch here in the like right above that part that Jen just talked about? His teeth flash in the moonlight is the Autarch. You maintain your interest in women. Was it the Dorcas you told me of? Is he surprised that Severian still likes women there? And if so, why?
I think he's just like.
Or is he just
I
being
think
kind
he
of
just is
funny?
Yeah, I think he's
Okay.
just being funny.
He's like, oh, you're still a horn dog, huh?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of thought that. So we know that the Autarch is
Right.
like a eunuch.
That's the
and
only
I
thing,
kind of
yeah.
thought that maybe the Autarch was like, well, you're going to be Autarch, so at some point it's
Right.
going to happen to you. Like
Right.
you're destined to become a eunuch
Right.
somehow.
Unless
So-
you don't fuck it up.
Yeah, like
So-
I thought there was the possibility that he was like just making a note to himself, like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh, that hasn't
you
happened
still
yet.
like women, okay.
Yeah.
So then you're like, how about Dorcas? But I think also, yeah, it could very well he's just being cheeky and
Yeah.
just like, oh,
But then it does happen
still-
before the end of the section we read. Like he does get eunuched.
he does.
Yeah.
Severian?
Yeah.
No, he
I don't
doesn't.
think so.
Oh, I feel
No, he
like there's a
doesn't.
Because
little.
that's the whole deal in Earth, where he's got to. He only becomes a eunuch if he fails the test.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
There was a,
Wait, why do you
No,
think?
he
there
definitely
was
doesn't.
like there's like a comment in like
I mean,
after.
he gets fucked up.
Find it!
I will talk about something else. I'll find it.
Oh man, I'm
It's
excited.
my cat is so cute.
Your new cat?
Both.
Yeah.
But
They're
yes,
very-
my new
yes,
cat
they're
is
very
great. Thank you. I
I seen him.
just want to talk about something else for a second. Like, take Brian's suggestion.
A pelagic argosy would be a bunch of submarines, right?
Well, Pelagia is what the country that all of the ships in the Trojan War like are
coming from.
Oh, pelagic also describes a certain depth of the
Or the
ocean.
pelagic deeps.
Yeah.
Deep.
But like Argosy is like a fleet of ships, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I feel like Pelagia is what
Coming in from the deeps.
the time of the Iliad, what they're calling the place they're from. So that's what that image always got to me was like all the fucking.
So so depth could be distance or actual like underwater. Either way.
Or the depths of space.
Right.
Well,
That's-
'cause
yeah.
space is an ocean.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's really.
Yeah, Wolf seems preoccupied with that idea, too.
And it's funny how we don't get excited about the ocean, really. Like, it's like, I feel like there's occasionally attempts to inject, like, the ocean is an undiscovered, like, quantity that's right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like it ever sticks with people.
Yeah, I feel like I've always
Well,
been a little bit
yeah.
surprised that there's not a lot of like
Marine
deep
biologists.
sea sci-fi.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some like Sea
Yeah.
Sea Quest, which I think is also on a different planet.
Tell it to James Cameron, my friend.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's
it's
trying.
it's not that it
There's some
doesn't exist, but
Sphere, or what was that cool movie in the
Oh,
early
yeah.
90s that people don't watch enough? The Abyss,
The
right?
Abyss,
Yeah.
That's actually
By
pretty good.
James Cameron.
By James Cameron, yeah. That's a good movie.
By James Cameron.
or like
I
or
like
like just
that
the idea
period
of
of
like
James
sea
Cameron.
colonization.
It's better
Like I've
when he
always
does that.
like kind of
Yeah.
expected to see that like in I don't know, it's like cyberpunk in the ocean or something.
Well, why
I mean,
is-
we're just not allowed into those cities.
Right.
Like Elon Musk wants to go to Mars, and then and that's something everyone's like, okay, yeah, that maybe will happen. It probably will happen. Let's like argue over the particulars. But why not fucking go into the ocean?
Dude,
Yeah, there are vast stretches
have
of our own
have you
planet
guys
that
seen
are-
Our Planet? It's the new kind of Planet
Yeah,
Earth thing on
it's-
Netflix,
yeah.
and they go to the bottom of the ocean
Yeah.
in it. It's great. Check it out.
And
They
the
go
bottom- let me tell you,
they
the bottom of
go
the ocean. It's fucking
towards
tight.
the bottom. I don't know if they go
They got
down
really
down,
touche.
but they go down there and like look around and shit. It's really interesting. There's like life like down there, like
Yeah.
these weird bug things that are so cool.
Yeah, shit gets real weird down there.
Really
there's
weird.
like animals
Yeah.
that
There's life everywhere.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
We should stop thinking that there is one corner of reality
yeah,
Yeah.
where there is no
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. These things defy.
I mean, I'm
Yeah, it's
personally
science
glad that we aren't talking about colonizing the ocean because it would only like fuck things up more than we already are.
Oh yeah.
Like
I mean,
we
yeah,
can't
I
be
mean,
it's
having
moving backwards.
we can't be having humans down there.
I'm not saying that it would be good, but I'm surprised that you don't see more of it in fiction.
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like any like why it seems like there is something instinctually afraid of the dark depths of the ocean that we're less afraid to go into a
Yeah.
vacuum of space for some reason. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Because that's moving forward.
Or it's moving away.
That is
Outward.
true.
That's- yeah,
That
outward,
well, that
yeah.
is true. If
Going in is
if
scary.
you consider the whole like evolution or whatever, like
Or
like
right,
that
you don't wanna go
everyone
back into the
that
ocean.
everyone has evolved from the ocean, out of the ocean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't go back.
you're supposed
Yeah.
to leave a womb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you try to return to the womb, that's when you get like Hitler or something.
Every time.
Yes, that's how Hitler.
I mean, it's fucked up people who want to return, right? That's where I learned about the phrase "return to the womb" from psychoanalyzing. Be like, why is this person so fucked up? He's just obsessed with returning to the womb. That's why.
It makes sense.
That's why he
Sounds
cuts open
good.
women. He wants to climb back inside. That's why he made a suit of his mother. He wants to return into her womb, be back inside there.
But also, like, people who have all of the windows closed and crank the AC all the time want to return to the womb.
Sure.
Like, that's a... You don't have to necessarily cut open a human body to express behavior that...
But staying inside and cutting yourself off from other people is fucked up in a way.
No, it's not.
I do it. I know that it's fucked up. I know that it is.
Oh, that's me every day.
Same.
Okay. So.
I also think that everybody is just varying degrees of fucked up.
Right.
Nobody's not fucked up.
Yeah. And there's a thing, and it is kind of, I feel like, germane to this book, that there's not a single ideal from which people deviate, you know? I feel like being fucked up is, I feel like, most commonly portrayed in our society as being like a deviation that could be corrected to make you normal.
Mhm,
Right.
mhm.
And that, I feel like this book does a good job of setting up a world where that is as ludicrous as it really is.
Yeah.
Everybody's fucked up. Like, there's no way to not be fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, success is dealing with mistakes, not making mistakes.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's speaking in the same direction.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, you don't erase a mistake and then have no mistakes. You know,
Right,
like, that's not
right,
how.
right.
That's not how mistakes work.
Mistakes are an important part.
Yeah.
So then in this chapter, he like reflects on Master Malrubius a little bit in the second half.
Yeah.
Is anything
Yeah,
interesting
this
in there?
part is really interesting about how half of the apprentices die before they become journeymen.
Yeah.
And how like he's realizing how it's like at least half of our apprentices, and perhaps more than half, died before they were raised to journeymen. But it never occurred to me that our tower might be an unhealthy place. Or that like swimming in sewage is probably a bad idea.
What is the Q? It's like Severian. Look to your Q
What?
on
Round and full,
third
like the face of a
paragraph.
happy boy.
I think he's
Third
talking about.
Paragraph.
Oh, he's
analyzing
drawing a
his
Q.
handwriting.
Oh, okay, got it.
This
Got
is
it.
like a
Got it.
handwriting
Got it.
analysis
Got it.
thing.
Yep.
Oh, you're on the next page.
Yeah, that's second full paragraph of 324.
This line, Master Malrubius suffered real illness, which is to see death in shadows, is an interesting line.
Mm-hmm. Also, Malrubius says Malrubius is reflecting. He's like, I spent much of my life in trying to implant the seeds in many apprentices of our guild. Also creepy.
Yep.
I have had few successes, but not many. There was a boy, but he. What boy is he talking about there?
Oh, good question.
I don't know, just some past.
He's just
Maybe-
reflecting.
With Wolf,
Or
it's
maybe
got.
it
There's
was-
gonna be.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's this
A
idea that
boy.
Severian was going to be a success, but then he.
But he's talking to Severian.
Right, but that doesn't mean
Could he
he's
be
not
talking
talking about Severian.
about
Pelaman?
Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Could be the case too. Another echo of that.
What is up with Pelaman? Have we ever gotten like anywhere with that? Like,
I need a
what the
refresher.
fuck happened to him? He got banished.
Yeah,
or
he was
whatever.
banished for a while.
Where
Oh
did-
crap! I figured it out a while ago, and now I can't remember.
This book fucks with your
Motherfucker.
brain so hard because you like figure shit out and then you can forget.
Yeah.
He goes to Liddy
Right.
for some reason.
Right, because that's where he met the. Wasn't that where he had met
The
the
slave.
slave guy?
I don't recall.
I think all of the masters experience something like what Severian experienced.
Oh, right,
But
we
that's
talked
something
about
we've
that.
talked about.
Yeah.
Is that it's it's not an if, it's a when, and
Yeah.
so like at some point they're going to do something.
They have to be sent away
that-
and come back.
Yeah, but they wait.
Mistakes.
Yeah, maybe it's all of the ones who can actually become masters are the ones who like fuck up.
Yeah.
It's like a rum. Like I think we talked about sort of like a
Rumspringa, yeah.
rumspringa, but it's like, oh, you fucked up. Now you're out, and that's just a way to like
Further bond
further bond them to it. But I guess because Severian's a
Well,
sociopath, he just
Well-
like goes off in a crazy
Doesn't
way.
work.
it says an interesting thing about mastery, that like you can't be a master of this guild until you have betrayed it, because disobeying everything about this guild is mastering it.
And then also,
Right.
is Palemon the one that goes up to the tower and talks to the screens? Or is that Malrubius?
No, it's
Gurlos.
Gurlos. It's
Oh,
Gurlos.
Oh yeah, Gurlos is the one who acts like he's stupid, but he's not. And
But there's-
drunk.
I get the three of them. I have
Yeah.
a really
I do
hard
too.
time keeping them straight.
Yeah. I
Maybe
know
also
Cliff
like
Notes.
the idea that like, if one of the tenets of the guild is that they obey, like maybe the only way to truly obey is to have had some kind of experience, like to choose to obey.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
right.
To be
Is the thing.
kicked out and then to see if you
Yeah.
still obey.
Right.
You
And-
can't know what obedience is until you've completely destroyed it.
Yeah, but like if you grow up and you're just following the rules growing up, you're not actually making a choice
Yeah.
to be obedient. You just are
Yeah.
a drone in their system.
It's why fundamentalists don't actually worship God, because if you don't have a choice, that's not that doesn't have
Mhm.
the emotional weight, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're consumed by God rather than participating in God.
Nom.
The last paragraph of this chapter is kick ass.
Yeah, where he fucking meets a minotaur.
It's so cool. It's just such solid, interesting. Once I saw torches with dancing flames of scarlet and radiant gold held by solemn apes. Ape men? I don't know. Man apes? A man with the horns and muzzled face of a bull bent over me, a constellation sprung to life. I spoke to him and found myself telling him that I was unsure of the precise date of my birth, and if his benign spirit of meadow and unfeigning force had governed my life, I thanked him for it. Then remembered that I knew the date that my father had given a ball for me for each year until his death, that it fell under the swan. He listened intently, turning his head to watch me from one brown eye. Killer.
Pretty weird, Sev.
What is that?
He's like just
It's
Varian doesn't
he's-
know when he's born, but Thekla does know when she's born.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's
what
different.
is the bull?
I assumed that he was like being tended to in his sickness.
Yeah,
and
and
he's
he's
like
kind of
half
hallucinating.
awake, and
Yeah.
this is like a nurse
Yeah.
who's like asking him questions to try to like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just weird that nurse is a bull.
Or
Yes.
that he sees it as a bull.
Especially in
his,
light of that
in
new
his
data
fever
that
dream.
most serial killers are Tauruses.
Yes.
Do you think it's a serial killer that he's talking about?
No, but it's just interesting. It's interesting that the here Taurus is like this symbol of like a nurse caring sort of presence, and we've scientifically found out now through statistics that they are serial killers.
But then, didn't they find out recently that there's 13 zodiac signs? So it's all different.
I mean, if by recently you mean 3,000 years ago.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
few
they're
bits.
bringing it back.
Yeah, that was popular. I first started hearing. Josh Kelberman started yelling everybody about that in the year 2005.
It's funny. It's very funny. Because it really is like you're trying to short circuit a symbolic language with facts.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
That
You know,
will
it doesn't
destroy
act-
the whole thing.
You know,
if
it doesn't
bring
actually
in.
matter,
Yeah.
right?
Going around and telling everybody, you've been doing your astrology wrong, is a crazy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's 13.
Why not?
Lunacy.
I think it makes me a Pisces.
Like the Joker.
The Joker's a Pisces.
In 1989 Batman, he says, "Oh, I thought I was a Pisces." And I've always believed him.
You only thought it was.
Like Mason and my father.
Ooh.
Those are my Pisces that I know.
Oh, my friend, bandmate, and boss James Johnson is triple Pisces.
Ooh, triple.
He's
And
like
you
an
have 3
alien.
relationships with him.
That's true.
Damn.
You're the fish.
Fisher man.
Oh no, don't do that any longer.
The Fisher of men.
Yeah, there you go.
Are we moving on to the flyer?
I think so.
Yeah. Oh, I really like this. I really like.
The part where with the Thekla and where he's like, "Go back in,
Yeah. So much.
go back in. I gotta talk to this other guy now."
It is really nice
Yeah.
that the Autarch makes the book. I feel he makes me relax. Like we've had these
Yeah, he's relaxing.
these
He's
chapters
very
that have been
relaxing.
like,
Yeah.
they've had neat stuff about them, but they're not my favorite chapters. And then when the Autarch shows up, I'm like all the way back in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, "All right, here we
totally.
go.
Yeah.
Book of the New Sun.
Yeah, totally.
What's going on, Autarch?
Totally.
Yeah. And him talking to Thekla like is funny. And then I
Yeah.
fucking love the all of us must be who must enforce the law. When he's talking about everyone who must enforce the law is a criminal.
Yeah, it must be a.
Oh yeah.
Which goes back
yeah.
to what we were just saying about mastery in the tortures.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it also I was thinking about it that like, so in order to have a society with things where you get stuff, there has to be
Incentivized.
there has to be a concentration of wealth at some point, and then that in order to have a concentration of wealth, you have to have the cops that protect it, and this will there will inevitably be corruption. Like you can't have those things and then not have corruption within them. And so
in order to, I felt like there was a sense of that in here too. That like if there are laws that are going to be enforced and something that's going to be protected by those laws, there will be corruption. So that you will all like you can't have a reformed law enforcement that excludes corruption.
Right,
Corruption
yeah.
is baked into the whole fucking thing.
I mean, we're kind of finding out right now that at the top, the branch in charge of enforcement is above the law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think on a local level too is like the gun trade task force. There's this interesting thing where like this is big news and
It should be bigger news.
It should be bigger news, but I feel like the conclusion that to be drawn from it is tricky because when you play it as news, it's like cops did this, they were like planting guns and they were like going on these chases and stealing money from dealers and all this shit. When you report it as sensational news, it reads as an aberration.
Right.
Instead of just being the thing that cops
yeah,
do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Right,
the story
just-
here is like this group that has a name of these crazy cops broke the rules of being cops.
Right.
When like the real thing here is like
They're
this
being
is what will
cops.
That's
happen.
what cops do.
Yeah.
There will,
Right.
like, if we prosecute them and disband the gun trace task force, immediately some other people will also do this because
Yeah.
you cannot have cops and
Yeah.
not have
Cops are a
corruption.
gang.
It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, that in Baltimore's an interesting case study in society. Like, because you look at the cops, and then you look at like the mayors too. And
Yeah.
it's like, if that's not just Pew,
Yeah.
that's the whole fucking
Yeah,
system.
And
He was
what's
just the one that we
commissioner
decided
that
to make a
Pew,
scapegoat of.
Pew appointed just got out of 10 months of prison for not paying his taxes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
got
It's like
off.
it even
Yeah.
happens at this like
And
bigger level where they're
The
just
comptroller is like who had the consignment
Joan
shop
Pratt.
with her. Like,
Joan Pratt.
And it's
Fuck Joan
it
Pratt.
kind of it's hard for
Fuck
me.
a Joan Pratt, man.
She's next. She deserves to go to jail.
It's hard for me not to want. To,
She'll never get voted out, so you'd have to send her to
I
jail.
know.
Well, he's been the comptroller for decades.
Yeah.
Since '95.
Yeah.
She's utterly incompetent.
Fuck Joan Pratt. The worst member of Baltimore legislature, in my opinion.
I remember, like, whenever the last election, when there were, like, 35 people running for mayor, and everyone was just like, and I remember reading a thing that was like, this is all a vanity show, because if anyone actually gave a fuck about, like, trying to fix Baltimore,
They'd run
all
for
of these people
comptroller.
would be running for comptroller.
Yeah.
But, like, you just want the name mayor.
Right.
Like, they don't give a fuck.
yeah.
But, like, comptroller, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's where it's at.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, I felt like this was about Baltimore when he's talking about everybody who enforces the law is a criminal.
But he's also talking about how he had to like find a thing to be a criminal about, specifically because of like that's his. This is his explanation.
You're like a
for it.
philosophy person. Is that like a Foucaultian idea that like law is just about exerting power over each other? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not actually about order. It's just about like that's like the function
Was
of
it-
law
was-
is just to be
it's-
powerful.
Order,
Oh,
order,
sure.
yeah, like order is a mode, like a functional mode of
Yeah.
power being exerted,
Yeah.
and like and like the panopticon is the same.
Yeah.
Like the order is just to make it more efficient,
Yeah.
to exert that power.
Yeah. It's not about like fairness or
Right.
No,
Yeah.
never.
Like-
Nothing is about fairness.
right. Whereas
Fairness
that's,
is
but
a
I feel
fairy
like
tale we
that's
tell
how
children.
people see it. You know, like there's like right and wrong, but really it's just powerful versus less
Yeah.
powerful.
Like you need more order if you like the more people you're trying to manage who are more like who are farther physically away from you, the more you need this order to make that even possible.
Yeah.
You know, like you have to standardize people to allow a small group to like exert power over them.
Yeah, but like a function of it is that the more power you have, well, the less the law applies to you.
Yeah.
That's just like it's a natural function.
Yeah. And it is
Nice.
very juvenile, I feel like, for people. Like, the whole impeachment thing is
Right.
fucking juvenile.
No
It's
one
like,
gives a
if
shit.
we get him, if we figure out what law he broke and he
Right.
gets a trial, then everything
Yeah.
will be fixed.
It's an interesting case study again, like looking at like how they're trying to apply the law to like nab Trump,
Yeah.
but like nobody cares.
Yeah, it's
And
like
it's
that's,
Yeah, it's
It's
utterly,
not how it
it's
works.
not
so
gonna work.
dumb.
It's so
We
dumb.
all
Oh,
know
I
that's
have
not
a
how it
really great. I'm gonna find this. I get like excellent text messages from Brian Nicholson on a regular basis.
Oh, how's
But
Brian
there's
doing?
one that he sent me that was so good. That was about that. That was about something about the centrism and how stupid it is, and how the centrist worldview. The stupidest thing about it is something about not being able to understand how power works. Let me
Didn't you
find
tweet
it.
something out, Connor? Or was it was someone else. It wasn't Connor, but like the neoliberalism. A neoliberalist is someone who isn't willing to stand up for their own argument. Neoliberal.
Huh. I didn't say that.
That wasn't you. Yeah, it was. It's someone else now.
But I've
Now
said
I'm
other
realizing.
things.
Yeah, you said. You have
I
said
don't
things.
know. If it wasn't that one thing, it's hard to say.
No, I've definitely said a thing or two.
I'm gonna take a
I
restroom
find-
break.
Okay, here we go. This is one of many excellent ones, but this one says, "Now that I understand the centrist perspective from talking to my uncle, it's even dumber. People who think they have information because they follow the news but don't have a coherent framework of power to synthesize the information and think that being able to do so is conspiracy theories."
Right. Yeah. That whole the conspiracy narrative now is really interesting to like look at how the news is like applying like, oh, it's fake news. Don't believe in fake
And
news.
then he says, later on, he says,
News.
"It's worth noting that my uncle is gay and thinks, quote, religion is the root of all evil." I'm like, no, it's money. That's what the phrase is, and that's actually what these fuckers worship.
That is,
It's the conspiracy thing is so weird now post Iowa caucus. Like, calling anyone a conspiracy theorist now makes no sense because the shit's right there. And the
I mean,
Bloomberg, all this
yeah.
stuff is like, this is what we've been talking about the whole time.
I had such a long conversation with my lawyer cousin yesterday because I like to just see what people outside my bubble are getting, what's
Sure.
happening in their bubble. And he has no idea that people are cheating against Bernie, thinks that Bernie's policies will destroy the economy,
Uh-huh.
and that Bloomberg is the one who would be able to rebuild our economy.
Why?
Because he thinks that he thinks that Bernie's idea of taxing the billionaires is bad and that what we need to tax is the corporations.
Same thing.
Well, yeah, right.
Well, I think we need to
If
tax both of
corporations,
them.
Yeah,
if
obviously
corporations are people, they should all be paying taxes.
Right.
That's,
I mean, like,
that's the-
well, and also,
Bloomberg's not going
like,
to tax
the billionaires are the ones with the
Bloomberg
billionaires.
is
That's
not
a
going to
ridiculous
tax
idea.
shit.
He's gonna just
Bloomberg
invite
is
them
the-
in. Just
Bloomberg
roll
is
it
the
out.
one person who would be a worse president than Trump.
Yeah.
He definitely would be.
Definitely.
would
Yeah.
be.
Oh
For
my
sure.
god.
He got the Fire Festival guys to do
Yeah.
memes,
Oh my god, dude!
which is wild. Yeah, it's
It's
just like,
gonna
wait,
be great when he brings out Hillary as his running mate, and
I'm
then the
so-
whole thing just fucking implodes.
I'm
It's gonna be
bummed that he's
fucking
not going to do
awesome.
any he's not going to do any like election events here because they're all open bar, fully catered. But
Oh.
you know he's not going to come to Baltimore though. But
He's
apparently
black.
Definitely not.
He doesn't like the blacks.
he knows. Yeah, he knows what's going to happen is that everyone's going to show up, like us included, and is going to go, yeah, I'm voting for him. So can we have any of all of this?
Did you see the story
He's
or
so
like
fucked.
this
It's like unbelievable.
thing where like they're giving campaign staff like $6,000 a month, so tons of people are just like, yeah, I'll work for you.
Yeah.
And they just go and don't do anything.
Yeah, poaching him out of other.
That rules.
campaigns.
Everyone should do that.
Yeah.
Everyone should take that guy's money.
Yes.
Everyone should take that guy's money.
Definitely.
You get
Least
a
you
so
can-
much.
least
Are you
you
talking about
can-
Bloomberg
Yeah,
memes?
yeah.
You
I
get a
wanna
brand
see
new
those.
iPhone and a brand
haven't
new
seen that.
MacBook the day that you
What?
like go to work for him. Like
Wow,
what?
how do you get a job?
Yeah, it's he's just fucking.
And then you can quit the
Everyone
next
should-
day.
No, you
And
should
just
just
keep the year.
do the job, go
Just
get
do
the
'em
job, and just do a bad job.
Do a
Yeah,
bad job.
do it
Yeah.
poorly.
Yeah,
Just don't do
it's
it.
great. No, it's
I wanna see
perfect.
some-
That's what
Bloomberg
working
memes.
in an office is like.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's great.
just slow things
Things
down.
anywhere.
Yeah.
It's
The
so
only reason I started
insane.
using Facebook.
Slow it down.
It's so insane. Just like paying for everything.
It's terrifying to think about people who are holding on to the idea that like there's stuff that you learned on TV and then there's conspiracy theory.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's
amazing.
still happening right
Yeah.
now. Like
That's the dominant paradigm.
yeah, it's mind blowing. It's so immature.
It's amazing.
Do we think that the autarky would work better? Do we think that instead of imprisoning people, we should torture them?
I mean, I
Because he makes a compelling argument when he makes that argument.
is that in this chapter?
No, it's like at the beginning of everything. Book 1. There's a thing where he talks about.
Genesis.
Yeah.
Some people think that you need to imprison people, but
Yeah.
then the whole, when somebody does something wrong, all of society just pays for them to live. Cut off their hand. Then they're their own problem. They don't become a burden on society. Everything's fine.
You only got 2
Dude,
hands.
this is the best. This might be one of the best lines in all of the books. There is no limit to stupidity. Space itself is said to be bound by its own curvature, but stupidity continues beyond infinity.
Hell yeah.
That's so fucking real. I love that. I love that so much.
That's good. That is good.
And then Severian goes on to say that he thought how smart he thinks he is.
Yeah.
Who had always thought myself, though not truly intelligent, at least prudent and quick to learn simple things, who had always counted myself the practical and foreseeing one when I had traveled with Jonas or Dorcas. I literally wrote LOL next to
Yeah,
that.
that's.
I mean, that is stupidity, right?
It is very
Yes.
And it's exactly what stupidity is.
Had never until
Seb
that
so
the Seb so dumb. Hashtag Seb so dumb. The end of that sentence is I had never until that instant connected the Autarch's position at the very apex of the structure of legality with his certain knowledge that I had penetrated the House Absolute as an emissary of Vodalus. Then he's like still just going back to like
He's
the
like,
dumbest part of like the
Wait, you
whole,
knew all this shit the whole time?
Oops.
Fuck.
But that's what he's choosing to think about. Now that he knows like how the network of the Autarch works, he's like choosing. That's where Severian's mind goes.
Yeah.
It's like,
He's like, oh no, I'm caught.
Fuck. Yeah,
Because
He
he
only
only
can
can think
away.
about himself.
because he thinks that the Autarch's gonna like punish him or something,
Because he was sworn to bananas.
This business right here is very Man Who Was Thursday, the G.K. Chesterton story where like it's about a revolutionary group that's like going to take down society, and in the end it turns out the protagonist finds out that the guy who leads the revolutionary group is also basically the Autarch. He is the society. They're the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also the plot of the Illuminatus trilogy.
And also kind of Cat's Cradle.
I haven't read
Vonnegut novel. Yeah. Well,
It's been a while.
it's good.
What? Yeah.
Well,
Whenever I read
there's
a
this.
Vonnegut novel immediately afterwards, I can't remember.
Oh well, in Cat's Cradle,
Okay.
there's like these people go to this island and they find that there's this. It's like a sort of it's sort of like a military dictatorship, but it's there's a religion called Bokononism that is practiced in secret. It's like it's an illegal religion, but it's like a function of the it's the Vodalis of the thing, and they're like intimately linked. And it turns out that the head priest of the Bokononis and the military dictator are like in cahoots with each other the whole time. And then the whole world turns to ice.
That's right.
Grey goo ice.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
like that.
isn't that how like ice that turns anything it touches into other ice?
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah, the gray goo.
Why do the cat women have claws that are like the claw, but also like the bushes that he sees later have the claws on them too? Do you know what I'm talking about? On three.
Well, the
Yeah,
bush,
that's
that's where the claw
Right.
came from.
That makes sense to me.
I think he's just seeing these patterns.
Yeah. But I mean, it looks the same, right?
I mean, he says that it looks they were shaped like that claw that is the claw that once like concealed the gem that I am my ignorance called the claw of the conciliator. So it's I don't know. He's calling back to it, but it's not necessarily like
You just
a
made him
literal-
think of it.
Yeah.
The cat.
He looked at me as though I had said something particularly stupid, as no doubt I had. I love that. I love his relationship with the Autarch. And I love how the Autarch talks, and
Yeah. Great character.
he's just really funny. He's
Yeah.
kind of like campy.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
is.
It's great.
I feel like
He's like
Danny
Wallace
DeVito
Shawn.
or like Groucho Marx or
He's
something.
really campy.
I always cast him as Orson Bean.
Who's that?
Cause like the thing about it is,
He's in Being John Malkovich. He's the boss. He was also on
Yeah.
What's
Dr.
his-
Quinn Medicine.
what's his name?
Orson Bean.
But he was like, on the Gong Show and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So he's
He's a face
Mr.
to
Bean's
put to
father.
Yes. Or his
Okay.
son.
He was
Mr. Bean is
Oh, this
infinitely
guy.
old.
his cancer was
Yeah.
cured by Reiki and technology.
Oh wow.
Like Wilhelm Reich?
Yeah,
Right
Oh.
here.
Like
Miraki
orgound it out of
technology.
They
Yeah.
orgoned it.
orgound it.
Reich is he's
But-
kind of like a there are actually 13 Zodiac kind of guys. A guy,
Reich?
Yeah. A guy who's like mystical, but science at the bottom of it all.
Oh, I feel like he's the opposite.
Yeah?
I feel like he's like
He's like
all
science, but mysticism at the bottom of all of it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
or it's more of just like it doesn't even have to be a top bottom thing. It's more like a synthesis thing.
Yeah, I feel like he recognizes something that's happening and then describes it in weird ways.
Yeah.
But I
People have to fuck.
the fa- I feel like with Reich it always comes down to, and this is a medical fact, I am a doctor. When
Sure.
stuff he's saying
And
is
that's
mystical,
why they
psychological.
fucking like disabled him
But I mean,
and burned all of his
burned
shit.
all his shit.
if you're a doctor, that's kind of the only, like, I always go around and saying that's beautiful, I know because I'm an artist. Like, that's all you can do is rest
Yeah,
on
it's
your
coming
own
from his
credentials.
perspective, yeah.
He couldn't say this is true because of any other reason, because that's the reason that he can come to things, you know?
Yeah, I'm saying that I mean, I feel like part of the issue with Reich, why he was frustrated, was because it had to, he had to prove that what he knew was true in a completely like objective laboratory.
But because I
Sure,
think
sure.
he was going for legitimacy, social legitimacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is something like there are only, especially like the further you go back, it's like there were and are only so many ways you can get legitimate, like social legitimacy. Like he wanted to have like widespread impact of that. You know, he wanted that to be
It's like,
mainstream.
unless you're willing to
So-
like super water it down, it can only ever be like perceived as like a cult or crank science, whatever. It's the problem with social legitimacy.
Yeah.
It's the-
he was totally persecuted and stuff, but he was complicit in his own destruction in that that need to be like an accepted legitimate authority.
I mean, that's what happens in politics constantly. And that's why people think like, oh, the only way to be the president is to appeal to as many people as possible, when that's just like that just means that everything's gonna descend to the lowest common denominator. It's going to be the most acceptable thing. It's going to be the avatar of presidency.
Yeah, but he wasn't trying to do that. He
Right,
was trying
exactly.
to. He
But-
was
but
trying
that's
to
the
be.
point.
Yeah, he was trying to bring his thing
He
to.
didn't want to
What I'm
become
saying is
mainstream,
that
he wanted to change the
Yeah, he
Right,
wanted
right,
to. Yeah,
right.
he wanted to take it all the way, like out into.
Exactly, but that's why the mainstream like crucified him.
Yeah,
It wasn't ever going
Exactly.
to take because it was too, it was too, like that taste was too spicy.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something about the Autarch's character, about how campy he is, and why I think that that's so good, and it's because it's like, the more you know about things, like the further out you can get your perspective, like the funnier everything is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is my personal
Yeah.
perspective.
When he seems to like, it even
I
comes
think-
out in the way that he talks.
Right, that's what I. But
Yeah,
I
it's
think
like-
that's like why.
He
I think
was-
that's the why he's like that.
He says
as
that
a character, which I think is great.
Yeah, Severian says he was happy as I thought he had not been on either of the other occasions on which I encountered him, and to hear him was like hearing a thrush speak. He almost seemed to know it himself, lifting his face and
And
extending
he's rolling
his
his
throat.
R's.
The
Yeah.
R's in a range and a romance trilled into the sunlight.
Romance.
Yeah, exactly. He's like a 60s like Disney king.
He's
or
having
something.
fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, he's having
fun.
a blast.
Yeah.
And if you,
But it's because the more you know about reality, the funnier it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why he's such a campy character.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
what's
love
the Taoist picture of the three masters tasting the broth? And it's Confucius and Mingzhu or something like that, tasting it, and they're all bitter, and then Lao Tzu is like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He thinks it's funny how bitter it is.
Yeah.
Well, it's either
That's
that
why
or
Taoism
despair. I mean, the more
Yeah.
knowledge you get, you can either laugh about
Yeah.
it or you can.
You see
write
that
about
Well,
it.
you
Worse
can laugh or
sex,
you
you
can
gotta
cry
laugh.
is my personal
Yeah.
life motto.
Yeah. So.
It is funny, even when it's sad. It's
This shit is fucking funny.
It is funny.
Reality is funny.
Really funny.
The
It's
comic
one
joke.
big joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
I
That's like Beckett.
That was revealed to me by
sometimes I think
Salvia.
the universe is only ever pretending to be serious.
or
Well,
pretending
but
at all.
my point is that it's really nice to me that the Autarch's character is like this, and he's not this kind of like solemn, serious fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Because if you had 1,000 people's minds inside of your mind, this shit would be funny.
Yeah, your your perspective is unlimited.
Yeah.
So
Or it's like
really
you can't be bogged down in the type of shit that makes people all serious all the time.
Right.
Because there's just too much information for you to go
That's-
there.
that's
it's
why,
like a
like-
waste of time.
That's why whenever
and
Severian
consciousness
says
to
something,
be
he's just
in
like,
that
oh,
state.
oh, it's funny that you think that.
Yeah, he's always just like.
It's a
You do not understand.
It's a lack of perspective that like makes people think that there's a single true thing that everyone needs to agree about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Or that
can't-
any one thing is like so serious that it's.
Well,
Yeah.
following that idea into Earth, do you feel like the Severian of Earth is like a more, like, or is a less serious figure or less self-involved because of his perspective?
I will keep that question in my mind as I read the book.
Nah.
I don't think so either necessarily. Although I feel like the Severian
But he
of
also-
Earth is a lot more enjoyable to read in some ways.
He's also even more people.
Right. Yeah, you have so
Um,
many people.
Shit, I forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Cats. Are we gonna go forward?
Yeah, let's go
Ajia
forward.
comes back.
The bad guy.
Yes, they.
They talk about the ship, science fiction.
Oh yeah, what happens? They get captured by
Yeah, they crash land.
Photonist. Right.
They crash, and then the Shayans are like, get there, and then they're fought off by Ajia.
Yeah. So wait, what's the timeline here? They crash. The Autarch messages Votalis. Aegea intercepts it, and so do the Ashayans.
I think the Shayans just might be like in the area.
Yeah. Okay. So they crash
They're
amongst
just closer
the Ashayans. Yeah.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're still
Okay,
in
got
the
it.
war, right?
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So they crash among the Ashayans. Messages Votalis. Aegea. Oh no, but Aegea's working for Votalis.
Yeah. But
So
purely
is the
in order
Autarch.
to get revenge on
Yeah.
Severian.
So she.
So
comes-
is the Autarch.
And then in this chapter, the Autarch explains about the vial, but Severian doesn't get the vial.
Right.
Right. Yeah. He doesn't get that till later.
That is very frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
For the next couple of chapters, when he's like rotting in that cell and stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah.
but he's gotta get that vial!
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're saying, no, that other guy, you know, our spy is going in and out of consciousness, and I'm like, how is he gonna get to the vial? It made these chapters a little bit more enjoyable.
It's good. It's
Yeah.
we get a temporary MacGuffin. Kind
Yeah.
of thing too.
Yeah.
Some regular old
penis.
plot stuff.
Some storytelling.
I like when
Shaped like
when
a
on
Who?
334
The
and
file.
Severian asks him why did you kill Thecla? He's like,
It's
I
a
didn't.
file.
You keep thinking that I am
It's a file.
at the bottom of everything, and
Yeah.
no one is. Absolutely no one is. And that's like I think a really, especially given like the general arc of this, where it kind of feels like Severian is like everything is being engineered in a really specific way, and this is the Autarch being able to say like, maybe some of that's true, but like you can't follow that line all the way down. There's
Yeah.
no one reason for anything. There's maybe no objective interpretation of this novel.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that does seem like he's kind of wagging his finger at the what's the true thing that happened reader.
Oh, I remember what I wanted to say about the Autarch.
Well, say it.
This Autarch talking to Severian sometimes makes me feel like when we find out somebody is reading this book for the first time. And you're like, oh, what part are you at? And they're like, this part. And you're like, hey, you don't know what that part is.
Right, yeah, totally.
Yeah, you only get to be the Autarch once you've gone through and it's become the Autarch.
Yeah.
Now you get
Well, and then also there's the thing of like a person who's read this book once talking to a person who's reading this book for the first time feels like the Autarch, but the person who's read the book 5 times talking to a person who's read it once gets to feel like they're I mean, it's the kind of thing
Yeah.
where like you never get to the bottom of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody always knows more than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andre DeRusi.
That's right. He is the objective knowledge.
Until I was gonna say until you become Mark Aramedi and you just know everything.
Yep,
Because you have objective closure.
Objective closure, yeah.
I'll never get over that phrase. That
That's
is
the,
just-
that's the subtitle of his book, too. It's like
No,
Objective
it was the
closure?
blurb. The
Yes, the
blurb
blurb,
about it
yeah.
was like
Thesis.
that the thesis is that objective closure is possible even in Wolfe's most
Right.
dense metaphysical texts or something like this. And it's like, fuck
It's
you!
like, who
Why write
cares?
a metaphysical text then? What the fuck?
Look, objective closure is not possible, not even in this book or any other one or any other thing at all.
nor is that favorable.
I know, it makes it boring. You're making a hologram into a two-dimensional picture.
Yeah, maybe I'm stuck in this part, but like it kind of just seems. It seems like the trick that the Autarch is trying to tell Severian about, that there is no objectivity. You can't get
Yeah.
that. There is no right way to be or anything
Yeah.
like that. And then the guy who knows the most about this book doesn't get that himself.
Right.
Because he doesn't really know. He is Severian.
Yeah, like
He
the
is
whole
very-
point is becoming a multitude and understanding there's not one
Right.
fucking reality tunnel.
Right.
Ew. Well,
Anyway.
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 Anyways.
Anyway.
Anyways.
I do always really love this part where Severian's like, I died! Where she yells at the Autarch.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love that part. It's
Yeah.
just really
That's
fascinating.
cool.
What is the flyer? There's this part on 337 where he's in the flyer, and he's like, I reached up searching for a means by which to signal my hand touched fur. The
Mhm.
fuck is he?
It might
Is there
have
an
like fur
animal there?
seats.
Or
Now it looks like a Barbarella spaceship.
yeah. I was
Or-
wondering if maybe it's like an.
It's like
Oh, I
it's a
think
shaggin'
no. I
wagon.
think it's because they're the seats are
Yeah.
like
Oh,
fur.
okay.
Or it's like a
Yeah.
luxury car.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
But
true.
so
yeah, it's
so
like a-
he's reaching up, but he realizes it's upside down.
Oh.
He says
okay,
he
and that's
says,
why he's touching the seats.
Yeah.
where is it? I reached up, searching for some means by
Yeah.
which to signal my hand touched fur, and I knew the flyer had
Okay.
overturned. So
So it's
because it's
or it could be
the
carpeted.
carpet, yeah,
Oh
Yeah.
perfect.
or whatever upholstery of some kind.
Oh, it's so
Shag.
Their heads are like the skulls of women, round and white. Capped
Yeah.
with miters of bone and stretched at the jaws into curved bills lined with pointed teeth.
Like women.
They were winged, the pinions so great they seemed to have no bodies at all. 20 cubits at least these pinions stretched from tip to tip. When they beat, they made no sound, but far below I felt the rush of air.
Well, sounds terrifying.
Yeah, so that's who
It
comes
sounds
down.
like pteranodons.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, wait. We gotta go back a little bit. We got.
God
we,
damn.
No, 336 is a really good page. I feel like we jumped past
Prove
that.
it.
Because he says this. Because the fucking. Okay, I'll prove it. The Autarch says, "Listen, these are the most important words of my life."
Yeah.
Can we not skip that? Okay, great.
He keeps telling
and then he says-
Severian to listen like
and then he
multiple
says-
times on this page.
Listen, you have served Vodalus and his dream of renewed empire. You still wish, do you not, that humankind should go again to the stars? And then Severian quotes Vodalus, men of Earth sailing between the stars, leaping from galaxy to galaxy, the masters of the daughters of the sun. Exactly. And then he says, they were so once, and brought all the old wars of Earth with them. and in the young suns kindled new ones. Even they understand it must not be so again. And that's the Ashaeans. They wish the race to become a single individual, the same duplicated to the end of number. We wish to carry all the race and its longings within itself. Have you noticed the file? Okay, anyway. But I have a question, which is, who is the original that all the copies are from?
Of the Ashaeans?
Yeah.
The Kim Sung group is what I assume.
Kim Lee Sung. Yeah. Okay. Very good. That's a question that
I have no evidence to support that other than I think of all those people as Asian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that could be it.
I mean, it sort of does not matter if once everyone is a copy of one person, it's it's flattening. Doesn't matter who you start with, you're gonna end up with flat.
Also, it's the kind of thing where it's like there's kind of these missing or like untied threads, and it makes sense to just be like, well, okay, these are two things that
I'll
could
tie
be
it
together.
Yeah.
Why not?
I also have another question that is something that I just am curious about when he's talking about how he was a servant in the House Absolute, and the one before that was a honey steward.
I wonder what that is.
But
Just a beekeeper.
I'm wondering how often do you guys think the autarchy transitions? That's a question that I have in my mind. Like, because it's possible that it happens like kind of a lot.
Well, it doesn't seem to necessarily be. It's not a lifetime appointment. I mean, or kind of is.
Well,
I guess it's a lifetime
you're
appointment,
done.
but it's not like because they don't have heirs or anything.
That is
It's
interesting.
not like
It's
they're-
randomized.
Yeah, he has to find his successor before he dies. So
Yeah.
like, it's almost like you have to like
But he didn't find it.
choose.
Doesn't he also have to leave the universe and go be judged by God?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Like,
that's that.
doesn't
But the
that happen
Autarch
with
goes to
every
do
Autarch?
that.
That doesn't make him the Autarch.
Right.
Like that's just something he does as
That's
the
just something the
Autarch.
Autarch does.
But the Autarch, this Autarch failed, and he still's the Autarch.
Right.
Right, but I'm
Okay.
saying each autarch
I mean,
has
he
to
did go
do
get
that. It's
judged.
like
Yeah.
you have to.
Yeah.
It's the grand
I'm
tour.
speaking to the idea that there's a quick turnover of autarchs.
Oh.
I
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't agree at this point, simply because each of them has to leave our universe and be judged.
Oh, it wasn't. I wasn't stating it. It was a question.
But I guess they don't have to be
But the nature
gone.
of Zachiel means that like every Autarch could be on the ship at the same time. though.
Right, because there's
Yeah.
only the one ship, and it kind of like comes in and out of time. So like, how long are they actually gone?
Well, right. You also could be. Well, the thing doesn't the thing happen where they come back and it ends up being. You could come back and end up coming back way before your own actual time too.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm less concerned about how much time it takes to leave the universe and how much time it takes to prepare to leave the universe.
Ah.
I feel the Severian has to go through a whole bunch of stuff
Right,
in
yeah,
between
yeah,
books
I
that we
know.
don't
and
hear
that's
about.
real.
Okay, yeah.
And that's real time.
Well, it's like
Yeah,
a-
like the closing ceremonies or the ceremonies for him departing Earth takes place in 0G and requires all this training and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
yeah, right.
I feel like there's a lot preparing for that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And he's what? There's like 20 years between this and
I don't
Earth,
recall.
something like that. It's not
I haven't
that.
read Earth in a long time.
It's not that long. I haven't finished it yet, but it's like it seems like he's. I mean, he's not old when it's
Right.
happening.
But I
think
feel like he's
just
middle-aged.
Yeah, I mean he's like 40 or in his 40s.
No.
So and like in that time he talks about all these wars and stuff that he's done.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
He's had a whole relationship with Valeria.
Right.
My Valeria, my Valeria.
That's what that song's about.
Yeah, I think that song's Valuria though, right?
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
But that's still what the song is about.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I think
they
about it
get
every single time I read this book.
About their love. Their weird ass love.
Yeah, it's so strange
So
how he talks about her.
it's really it's like the only one that he's not
Valeria?
like, super into, kind of.
Yeah, she's just like kind of the
And then he's
least
like-
interesting woman, and
and
then
my
in the end
love.
he's like, of course I married her.
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah, my love. Yeah.
Interesting.
that's
The book
it.
ends with her too, or him going to meet her.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just notable. Like he goes. And that's like the very last thing he does.
yeah.
Can I look
Yeah.
at your thing?
yes.
It's like why?
because he doesn't want to tell us about her because he truly loves her.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that could be. She doesn't play into this narrative
Not trying
much.
to give away all their secrets. Yeah, I mean, and then in Earth, he's, oh,
She stays at home and takes
See you
care of
later.
shit while he's out and about.
yeah.
As
Interesting.
always.
Gotta eat some flesh.
Yeah, all of mythology kind of has an argument that that's happening.
Maybe we talked about this in the past, but what's the significance of the name of the house, Azure?
I was just making a joke, but you're right. That does happen a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
this
women are
At the
section.
bottom
to
of
rule the house of men.
338.
Fires that go out and conquer other
I
things to bring along.
I mean, I always just thought it was a play on, like, I don't know, blue, like the term blue,
Right.
being like
Mhm.
erotic.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Is that
that's
just
what
what
it
he's
is.
picking? No, that's not what he's picking up on. Because at the bottom of 338, he's like, ever since the night I had first seen him when Rosha brought me to the house Azure, whose odd name I was now perhaps beginning to grasp, I had sensed the complexity of this thought.
Well, I mean, I guess, I don't know. If you could be
Like,
Like,
he wouldn't
this-
just be picking up on the wordplay.
right. Well, could it be like this? I don't know. Like sometimes you think about the sky, like, you know, out of the blue, or like
Yeah.
like, you know, the azure is like
Mm-hmm.
has this, or even like the Microsoft Cloud services called Azure.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like this kind of like sky quality to it, and if
Mhm.
there's like, I don't know, maybe there's that myriad, you know, stars or clouds or whatever.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
this kind of like idea of the sky being full of all
Right.
kinds of shit.
Right.
And
Possibilities.
So, yeah, and so the Autarch is like the sky.
Yeah. Yeah.
full,
Yeah.
full of shit.
That makes no. That makes a lot of sense to me. Thinking about the sky.
Huh.
Someone in the chat said only 2 Autarchs before Severian got to be judged.
Oh, really?
Only 2?
That's what the chat says, yes.
Is there a
What?
basis?
Who's
for
on
that?
the chat?
Yeah. Is
Uh,
it Caleb? Some guy.
Sanic the Shazbot.
Okay.
They're
Which
gonna-
two?
Who is that?
Is it Yamar and the previous one? Who?
Who?
Well,
Yeah,
we know
let us
this
know.
one.
Give us
we
page
know
numbers.
this one. So who's the other one?
Yamar?
We
The
know
almost
that
judged?
this Autarch was judged.
Yeah.
So then there's one other one. Yeah, who's the other one?
Yamar the Almost Just? Is this Autarch Yamar?
I don't know.
No.
I thought Yamar was the first Autarch.
Right.
Y-M-A-R, am I not pronouncing
Yeah, no,
it?
I'm asking this person who
Oh,
the
right,
other
right,
one
right,
is.
right,
That
yeah.
they- yeah.
Mal Rubius says it.
Okay.
What, like earlier, like the hologram Malrubius?
Don't ask
What
me.
book?
Ask Sanic the
In
Shazbot.
what book?
Page number, please.
Yeah.
We need citations.
You gotta add to the
Entry for
conversation.
Citations needed.
You gotta just
Really?
let us know.
Yeah.
To ask them to type out the
Would it be
exact
under
quotes.
A, maybe?
I've checked under A
Oh,
as
okay.
well.
Not under H
Or you can call
Yeah.
in too. You can
Are you
call
talking
in
about Hats
chat.
Azure in the the
Yeah, there's
Lexicon?
no
It's not in
entry
there.
for it.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Strange.
Andre Deruzzi, you need more entries in here. We
Wait,
need a
what's
second
what's-
edition.
Wait, what's
There's no
missing?
House
House
Azure.
Azure.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was
It's a little
trying. I thought
surprising.
maybe it would have some insight into the use of Azure.
Yeah, that's weird.
In the
There's no entry for House Azure
Sand
or
Garden
Azure.
chapter.
Oh, okay, way back in the beginning,
Yeah.
Oh.
when you would never be paying attention to Autarchs being judged.
What, or is it the Sand Garden chapter at the end where he goes back to the Sand Garden? Or is that in Earth? Is that in Earth?
Oh.
Don't look at me. Look at
No, the Sand Garden
Shazbot.
is it's coming up 2031. I don't know my Roman numerals. but
2031?
Whatever. One of the next chapters, XXI.
That's
XXXI.
oh, that's 31.
Yeah.
Yeah, 31. Okay.
Maybe it's that one.
At the Sand Garden. Autarch now. Citadel of Nessus. I
Yeah.
guess this is getting ahead, but
Yeah, we'll
Well,
we'll
I'm
definitely have
interested
a
in that.
lot to chat about in the next coming wolf pack or two, because there's
Yeah.
a lot of information sort of gets
We have a
relayed.
couple more to get to.
Yeah,
where
we
stopped
should.
reading.
Yeah, we should
get
start
there.
try to get through
'Cause
all
was
of
a
it this
good-
time.
We had a good spot where we stopped. Yeah. Thank you, Sanic the Shazbot.
Who are you? I want to know who they are.
The Shazbot.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of Mork and Mindy?
Shazbot.
Shazbot?
We need answers, Shazbot.
Shaz.
Gotta wait because there's the broadcast delay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to dox anyone. I just want to know if I know them or not.
Right.
Oh.
Like, is it James Ford? Who else could it be? Who else?
Also, yeah, I guess it's not all of the Autarch.
Oh yeah, probably that. Yeah,
They
it's
can-
probably
they
James.
can accept
Are you
James?
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 I don't think I would. I don't think that Sanic the Shazbot does not sound like a James Ford moniker.
No, it really doesn't.
It does
You-
not.
it would just be DJ Hummingbird Feeder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be something. There are people that we don't know that are interested in this book.
I know. I just want to know if I know them.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Or how they're
I told you about
tuning
the time
into
I met
this.
that trucker.
You met a trucker who's into this book?
I was on tour and I was
You-
standing
I know
outside
this
the bus
story.
smoking a pipe, reading the book, and a trucker was backing up his truck and pointing at me. He's like, "I gotta talk to you." And he parked his truck and then he came out. And he's like, "You reading Teen Wolf? I love Teen Wolf. I'm listening to it on tape."
Terrifying. Terrifying. I want to talk to you.
From out of his truck while he's driving. Oh man, it was so scary.
What would this be like to listen to?
I know that's what I said. I
People
was
do
like,
listen to
"How
it.
does
Is
that
there an
work
audio-
for you?"
Yeah,
Is there an
is.
audiobook?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Jay DeLisio has only ever listened
Yeah.
to it on
I
audio.
thought you found an audiobook and sent it to all of us.
No, I found ebooks.
Oh, ebooks.
Yeah.
Yeah. My friend Alex Gilwitt just listened to it.
Oh.
Listened to the whole thing.
Alex
Remember
Gilwitt?
Yeah, she listened to the whole thing.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Does
I don't
seem
know.
weird. Can't
I mean,
flip
it
around.
might be interesting. Like, I'm curious.
You can do it for your
Yeah.
first read.
Yeah.
Oh, you do it for my second read, just see how it goes.
I mean, you could do it
I
just
mean,
for fun, but I don't
right.
think it would.
I'd like to do it at some point.
Yeah.
Because as I've said many times, I think that it's very important to read this book out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a completely different experience when you're reading it out loud, and I'm sure it's a completely different experience when you're just listening.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great one to read out loud.
All right, let's go to the next chapter. Let's get through these last because we went up to 28, so there's only 3 more left.
3.
And that's fucking 28 is so weird. The place where we stopped. The one where he's like doing the. He's suddenly in the present for a hot second, floating around doing the 0G ritual.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. Well, anyway,
Wait,
we're,
Okay.
we're above
Yeah.
the jungle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's interesting.
Bodolus
He's
is like grilling him.
Oh,
about
this is where he
thi-
meets
thi-
the
Bodolus thinks he's
doctor.
the Autarch.
That creepy doctor is in this part.
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
I
terrifying.
like this. This part like is like a throwback to earlier chapters where Severian meets some random person, then has some really out there philosophical thoughts.
What did they say?
They say you don't know them.
Okay.
And then they're saying some quotes from the Zen Garden about the.
Yeah, can you read them?
Your predecessor also accepted the challenge and failed. That is clear from what he said. Yes, still he was braver than many who are called heroes. The first to go in many reigns. Yamar, of whom you may have heard, was the last before him.
Okay.
Yeah.
The almost just.
Well, he was the last before him. That doesn't mean Ymar was the. But Ymar was the
I'm
first
pretty.
Autarch.
I'm pretty sure that
Okay.
Yamar's the
Wait,
first.
I,
Autarch.
Okay, so
I'm
then-
sorry, is
so
the
that's
is
two.
the implication there that some Autarchs don't go just because they're not
Yeah,
brave
that's
enough?
The
what-
implication now is that no one's gone except
Since
for
Ymar.
Yeah,
Danny DeVito.
but they
Yeah.
but they chose not to. Is that the is
Yeah,
that what's
because they
going on
were
there?
not.
They just- They didn't want to go.
Yeah.
They wanted to keep their day.
They wanted to keep their.
Wait, do you lose your D if you go?
Maybe
If you go and
just
fail, you lose
lose
it.
the bees.
You
maybe
lose the
not the
B's.
D.
Okay, the
Lose
D you
the
still
Bs.
got. Just the B.
Wait, I'm not sure.
D. That's a good distinction. We should follow up on that.
The
What?
bees.
Oh, I think they lose everything.
I think so
Everything,
too.
B
the whole
and D.
thing. Wow.
Like a woman.
That is not
Shazam.
like a woman. I'm sorry.
But this, the way they talk about it in this kind of book.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Alright.
Yeah, because women still have the bees.
Oh, I was trying to say the opposite.
That women only have the D.
No, but they have nothing between their legs.
That is not
Oh,
true.
we got it
Is what
all.
I'm saying.
Right, but that's how it's talked about in this kind of book.
Well, they have the
They
wound.
constantly say that kind of thing in here.
They have the wound that results from.
That's
Removing
so
of the D's and
awful.
B's.
Okay, let's not
Alright.
talk about this anymore. The D's and
The
B's.
D's and B's.
It's so fucked up. Oh my god, I just have to say.
I'm gonna get up.
I know you hate Voyager, but this really funny thing
Mostly
happened.
just Neelix.
This really funny thing happened a couple episodes ago where the doctor,
I hate
emergency
him too.
medical. No, I love him.
You like the doctor? He's so
But
fun.
he meets
It's a
this
disgusting
other
guy.
newer
Sorry,
EMH
that's not funny.
program, and he's like telling him about how he's like become more of like a full human, and he has all these experiences, and he's like, I've even like had sex. And then other EMH, the newer EMH is played by Andy Dick, and he's like,
Oh,
sex.
I've seen that.
But we don't have. He basically is like, but we don't have dicks. Like, how do you-" And he was like, and he just goes like, let's just say I made an addition to my program. It's like fucking awesome. So it just reminded me of the.
I was watching
all.
DS9 all morning.
Good lord.
I could go off
I'm
on
with
it.
a bunch of nerds!
Connor, sorry.
Look, man.
I watched the funniest episode
Yeah,
this
but
morning.
you watch all the Star Wars shit that I don't watch, so.
Yeah, true.
Oh, I watch nerdier shit than Star Wars.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. We all have our thing.
Yeah,
I think Star
I'm not
Wars is
gonna.
the
I'm not
nerdiest
gonna go
thing.
into it.
I love Voyager though, man.
Battlestar
Sorry,
do you-
Galactica is
do
so
you?
much nerdier than
I've never
Barbie.
watched Voyager.
That's
Star
true.
Wars is the nerdiest thing because it's the most for babies.
No. All right, look. You have your
Yeah,
opinion. I know that it is
All right, let's-
a
Like
thing
Star
that
Trek is
exists
less
only
nerdy
for
because
you.
it's a little
That
more
is
grown up.
fine.
All I wanted to talk about was the hologram dick. Can we just move on to the dick?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go back.
Because I thought it
You
was.
wanted to talk about it, Dick.
I thought it was funny. It made me think of a funny thing.
I have many
We don't
thoughts of
need
the
to go
Star
on.
Wars versus Star Trek argument,
Well,
but
we can
now
have
might
those
not
off
be
air.
the time. Yeah, exactly.
Because we need to get through
we've
that.
already talked about
We need to
it.
get-
We gotta solve that problem.
We need to get
Countless
through our
hours
chapters.
doing it.
We
Oh,
need to
huge
get through our
problems.
chapters.
Okay.
So,
This is just one of those chapters where not much is happening.
We get the leech.
Yeah.
do you think Vodalus really thinks that he's the
just
Autarch?
a shirt. No,
Yeah.
Vodalus doesn't know, right?
He doesn't.
Vodalus
Well,
sees
Vodalus
the
thinks
Autarch
Severian
as-
is the Autarch because he's
Oh, right.
like, my servant called me and told me he's with the Autarch or whatever. Or something. Like,
Yeah.
so he's like, but then
It's-
this guy's my servant, so you
Right.
must be the Autarch.
Right.
That's what he's pushing him.
It's like Vodalus is clever enough where I feel like he's playing it well. Like I think he doesn't know, and he's like, "All right, I'll just hedge this situation." You know, like clearly, Autarch was there. You know, okay, are you him? No.
Yeah.
All right, let's just see how this plays out.
And it's kind of funny because Severian's getting away with it, even though Severian's a dumbass, because of the same like mistake. Like Vodalus doesn't think the Autarch is the Autarch because he's like, nah, look at that guy, that can't be the Autarch. And then so he's like, you must be the Autarch. But then Severian's like dumb, so he's like, well, look at you, you can't be him either.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I mean-
both of them work for Vodalus.
right.
Right.
So
And
I
there's-
can understand being confused about that.
And there's, I mean, also in Earth, there's like a lot of confusion about like who the Autarch is, like who gets to go and do this thing.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a lot of, I don't know. I mean, we see that echoed.
Oh yeah, there's that weird thing where it seems like this other guy is going to go have the test.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
what's his name? Well, he's like the guy who starts out as the weird like furry wombat.
Oh,
And then
Zadkiss.
Well, yeah, but also
Zach.
Zach. Yeah.
That's an interesting question. I mean, another thing I kind of want to talk about and is like the philosophy of this creepy doctor on 340, 342.
I was
Yeah,
I was
definitely got
just
some
rereading
crank
that.
I
science
love
is
it
what he's
when
talking about.
WOLFE just starts riffing on these ideas, and it's just like so good. Yeah, I don't even know if we want to get into it. This is one of those things where I don't even.
You mean talking about like here is light? You will say that it is not a living entity, but you
Yeah.
point that it is more, not less.
Yeah, without occupying space, it fills the universe and nourishes everything. Blah blah blah. But then we claim to control it and does not cultivate us as a source of food.
Yeah.
Light cultivates us as a source of food. May it not be that all wood grows so we can set it ablaze, and that men and women are born to kindle fires.
This is very much the cat owner
The cat
problem, or not problem, but like the cat owner situation of like who is in charge in this relationship.
Yeah.
Oh,
If an
yeah.
alien came, I feel like it would make sense for the alien to determine that the cats are in charge of my house.
Have
Right.
you read the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series? Specifically the second one?
Restaurant at the End of the Universe.
Yeah.
I have. It has been literal decades.
Because they talk about the man who rules the universe has a monologue to his cat. He's like, "Did you see the 7 people come and ask me questions about the universe today? Maybe you think that they're just coming here and singing to you. Maybe they're coming here to sing to you, and I just think that they're asking me questions
Right.
about how to rule the universe."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cool part that fits into exactly what you were
But
saying.
what's unique about this is that he's not. It's like a cat is at least like a living thing. Like you can kind of understand that. But this doctor is preoccupied with the idea that like, not things that we perceive as non-sentient. I don't know.
We do their bidding.
Have a sentience, in fact,
I've
over
just been
us.
writing a bunch about that.
Yeah, actually, that's when I was rereading this, I was thinking a lot about the.
And that this is like some wisdom that is like forbidden, or that you can't learn anywhere else. It's like this is the real shit. So says
It's
this
like-
creepy
This is
old
exactly what I
crazy
believe.
doctor.
Yeah, it's like
I'm
what-
the creepy doctor.
Right on.
Well, it's
Well-
it's a very like pre-Socratic kind of take
Mm-hmm.
on that, where it's, just like this idea that life becomes this thing that is nurtured by light, and that also like continues it or makes it strong, like concentrates it. Like,
It's hard to draw a line in existence and say this is life and that is not, because of how interconnected everything is.
Well, and he's just talking. Before he goes into that, he's just talking about how dumb science is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like the idea of science.
Right.
He's like, we just fucking like blasted everything into smithereens without like any thought about
Yeah.
anything besides our own will, basically.
And that's science.
I agree. Yeah, hard agree.
Absolutely.
Hard
Yeah.
agree.
Like,
We're all
it-
about coulda,
Yeah.
not shoulda.
Well, 'cause at its heart, science,
That's bad.
as a function of the Lords of Light, is about shining light on things and seeing smaller and smaller pieces of it and taking it apart, and it
Yeah.
never puts it back together.
just dismantling.
Right.
Yeah. And then treating each part as if it exists independent of all the other parts because you were able to like isolate it
Right.
in your view.
Yeah,
Right.
just because it's a smaller particle doesn't mean that it's necessarily something that needs to exist on its own.
When that thing exists only because of how you in particular have cut up the universe.
Right.
And fire cuts it up in a different way.
Yeah.
And we are like, I feel when this book was written, I feel like it was still up in the air whether or not we were blasting the like the exhaustion of the planet and the destruction of its race. Yeah, like I feel like people were still feeling quite that this was not that this wasn't a foregone conclusion,
Okay.
right?
Sure.
Like don't you have to kind of be an engineer or like a serious activist at this point to
Yeah.
believe that we have sapped the planet of its life and it is in its death throes?
I think so.
But now you don't have to be that. Now that is
Well, it's just accelerated so much more even from
Yeah.
this point. Like I think that a lot of this stuff in the earlier mid '80s was like kind of theory of like, oh, this is the way things could go.
yeah.
And it wasn't until like even the like early 2000s where we were like, oh, this is going way worse and way faster
Yeah.
than we thought it was.
I agree with everything you said in a broad sense. I do think that, like, I remember when I was a kid, there was a bit about there's a hole in the ozone above New Zealand, and things got
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
intense at that point for that. I mean, like,
Right.
certainly nowhere near what it is now.
Yeah.
But
But always
I do feel like there's been spikes of like, oh no, that's a serious thing. But
Yeah,
then, like,
greenhouse
we
gas-
solved it,
yeah.
so we could that lets us blow
Well,
things off even more.
Yeah, there was the greenhouse problem, and
Yeah.
then we changed
Stop
the way
using
our air
aerosol
conditioners work,
deodorants.
and then that was no longer something to worry about, basically.
Yeah, we took care of it.
Aerosol cans were
Exactly.
different now. Like,
Yeah.
Exactly.
And lo and behold, that has not decelerated at all. There's
Well, I think the ozone right? The ozone layer is back.
Right, yeah,
Back to-
like the whole
Yeah,
like,
we fixed it.
regenerated,
Yeah.
but that's not the whole problem.
No, of course not. Of course not. But like, that was the aerosol thing, though.
Because it turns out the thing that's ruining the planet is just us existing.
Yeah.
And the way to save Earth is for us to fucking leave. Because
Or
that's the way
coexist.
nature is designed, for a baby to be born, and we have to leave the womb of our planet
I think
in
part
order
of
for all of
shit.
existence to live.
That's fucking the story of Uranus and Kronos.
Mm-hmm.
wasn't
Kronos
this
keeps putting the babies back into Earth, and it hurts Earth to do that, and eventually she has to
Kronos
make
cuts
a
off his
fucking
dick.
knife to cut off his dick. Yeah.
Well, there's this. I mean, the idea of like us destroying the planet, that's the anthropocentric idea of like the people are the thing that can either save or ruin the planet. But it's like the planet will be fine.
Yeah.
It's just going to like work in a different way,
Yeah.
whether or not humans are here.
It'll get rid of us.
I mean,
It's
sure,
getting a
like-
fever because it's got an infection.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the idea of humans operating more like a virus.
Yeah.
Um,
That's like, do you guys heard the Joaquin Phoenix speech at the?
I heard about
award
it.
Ceremony. It was really interesting because he does this like really like we have to like he talks about how that there's this horrible idea that one kind of person, one gender, one race, one species should have dominion over all the others, and it's fucking up the world, and we really need to worry about climate change, and we need to worry about suffering cows and stuff, and it's very revolutionary. And then he gets to this point where he goes, but I believe in people and love, and he basically says like we're smart enough to fix this. Like he does this whole like our ego is destroying everything. It's the ego that's taking over, and then at the end he does but human ego, we're good enough that we can fix this thing,
Right,
which is it's just like the way that it all like no
Who are you
matter
talking
Joaquin Phoenix, no matter like it's kind of impossible.
Oh, you're on that part.
It's kind of impossible in the public sphere to talk about like a solution to climate change without talking about like the tower is in trouble. We need to build it higher.
Yeah.
Like the only thing that will save us is if we make this tower higher. Let's make
Right.
it higher as fast as we can.
Yeah, whenever I talk to my environmentalist cousin, I'm like, you scientists should stop figuring out how to stop climate change and how to live after it. That's what we need to figure out how to
Yeah.
do. Climate change is happening.
It is
We
the
need
one thing
cities
that I
under the
have
water
to
so that we
plug
can
my
live.
ears with about Bernie, because I don't want to be a storm cloud, and I just don't want to be a critic of Bernie. I don't want to play that role. But when we get to we're gonna solve climate change, I have to not listen. I have to tune out.
Well,
I
think
can't
it's
hear
important
someone
to point out when Bernie's. I think it's important to still critique Bernie.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, he's not a
You
wizard.
just can only do it amongst yourselves.
yeah. Which, so
Yeah.
but that is the one place where I feel extremely uncomfortable is when there's this explicit promise to fix climate change.
I
Yeah,
don't think
never
anyone's saying
happened.
they fixed
Yeah,
it.
No,
I
he
think
does
it's-
have language that says
Maybe,
I
but
think it's just
I think it's
that you
about
have to
doing
like
something.
Right.
act as if it fucking exists,
Yeah.
exists at all.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the bare
At le-
minimum
yeah,
that
at
we're
least
looking for.
acknowledging it and taking some steps either to slow
Yeah.
the advance of it. I mean, I think honestly, like just slowing it down at this point is a good idea because it gives us more time to figure out how to deal with
Yeah,
it.
I mean, like,
'Cause, like, the
even if
effects
you're
are
just
inevitable.
Get the fuck outta
talking,
here,
even
so
if
we
you're
gotta-
just even if you're not saying, even if the purpose is not to like solve it or stop it or whatever, it still doesn't mean that like it's not a good idea to invest in like solar and wind and like stop subsidizing coal and oil.
Right.
Like,
right, but I do think that there's a psychological like effect that's going on that's like part of why we're in the problem, like we're in this place to begin with because of this idea of human ingenuity and moving forward being the answer to every problem, like that faith in what we are able to achieve and progress and doing better than we did before is how we got in this fucking place to begin with. So that,
sort of, but the narrative, it's not. I feel like that narrative has been there, but it's been used to bad ends. Like, I think that narrative can be used to good or bad ends.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the problem is that it's been isn't the narrative itself, but that it's been used to bad ends.
I guess
Because you have to have something
yeah,
to like motivate
know.
masses of people.
I don't really
I mean, like industrialization
follow
is
you,
like a function of
Right.
progress, or like it was like
Right.
initially.
Right,
like,
right.
The initial idea is like, hey, we've got this like engine, like this
Right, we
whole
can do
idea of
all
like
this stuff.
futurism being this engine that runs and runs and runs.
But
And
they
I mean,
weren't thinking about
and that's like
sustainability.
ultimately the criticism of it is like, well, you know, an engine has finite resources, and
Yeah.
it'll break apart eventually.
Yeah,
But-
and I guess
but
your
it's still-
argument is saying that in combating climate change, we will clearly somehow make it worse, just because that's, if you look historically, like it's always making it worse to try to do something.
Like,
But
part of it has to do with technology, in that, like, and progress, in that there's an idea that humans get smarter over time, and that like
Right.
things we build now are better than things we used to build, because the future is where intelligence is, and the past is where
There's
stupidity.
the idea that we
is.
get to keep all of this stuff. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, well, we came up with all of this stuff, and so now we have to find a way to keep all of this
Yeah.
stuff.
Yes.
Yeah,
But also
totally.
make it not bad to have all this stuff.
Totally,
Yeah,
agree.
there's-
Totally agree.
There's
Totally
this
agree.
problem I have with like extreme vegans of like, oh, you think that you can exist without having any impact on existence,
Right.
you know, and that I think is
Yeah,
part
but
of where
meanwhile, like commercial soy is like fucked.
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, but I
But-
guess one of the things is that, like,
Plenty of
I think
downsides.
that when you tell kids we're gonna solve climate change, and you like you present it in this heroic narrative of like there's a monster and we're gonna build the fucking sword that slays it, that like that is the exact.
I honestly don't. I don't get that vibe when I hear Bernie talk about climate change.
I don't either.
Personally,
Yeah.
I don't feel
I
that
don't-
vibe from him at all.
Well, and this is kind of the problem, is I don't think you can talk about sacrifice and win an election. But I feel like that is the only element. Like, without the element of sacrifice, you cannot actually do anything about climate change.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Yeah.
But you have to get elected first.
Exactly, and that's why I have to plug my ears, because it's like it's just an uncomfortable situation.
You would you would prefer a more honest talk about it,
But
like,
not really. But I wouldn't really prefer it, because I know it's only me that is gonna like be heartened by that language. You know.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But you're in a hypothetical situation. I don't know. It would be best, you're saying.
Like
that-
if we were in a private room and I
Right.
did not hear language from him that had to do with sacrifice, I would be scared of him, you know?
Right.
But I'm not in a private room with him, and also I'm not the audience for any of this talk.
Yeah.
And so it's like a cognitive dissonance thing of like I just am accepting what I feel to be a kind of dishonesty for practical end, which is like a position I try to avoid.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. We're at an interesting point in humanity where I feel like we've made a big mess,
Yep.
and now it's like, how do we react to that
Yeah.
You
big
have something
mess?
else?
And there's such, I mean, and this is
I
like
have a
the
knife just
Extinction
like that
Rebellion
that I
thing.
use
It's
for
like
things.
there's this,
It's perfect.
and
It's kind of dull.
the mindset that this is another problem to solve, like problems we have solved before, I think is really dangerous.
Right.
You know, like there needs to be a moving back. There has to be a coming back and a cutting down.
I think that was
like
also a Foucaultian argument, wasn't it? We had to like,
I
we
mean,
have to like
it's-
deconstruct.
It's also a Unabomber argument.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting.
Which the Unabomber's really cool and has many good points.
Total. I mean, like, there's a level of anarcho-primitivism that I'm absolutely like, well, yeah, like, yes, this makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's also the kind of thing where it's like, but it's gonna require a whole lot of sacrifice
Yeah.
for me personally.
Humanity
Yep.
and I
probably
you know,
have to
like,
destroy
that doesn't
itself.
sound good.
People don't want.
It does.
to
That's the
like
Yeah.
thing. Is it does seem like there's no way you're ever gonna sell the Avatar people on sacrifice of any kind, and that
Right.
like we're in a situation right now with right and left in which it's really, really easy for either side to be able to say, "Well, you're the one who needs to do all the sacrificing. You."
I think there also are. I think it's also. I think talking about sacrifice is also kind of like a misnomer. Because I think that there is a way. I think ultimately, if there is any kind of like. I mean, solution is a bad word, but whatever. Like a path that's like beneficial to humanity to follow or whatever. It's ultimately whatever it is that gets sacrificed is gonna be a bunch of bullshit. Like life will be better in this scenario, and therefore like sacrifice is also like kind of an outdated way of looking
sacrifice
at it.
has this
Like,
really
I don't
strong
think it's-
moral component.
Yeah, I don't think it's
that's
necessary
not-
to talk about it in terms of sacrifice. I mean, maybe it is for you because that's the kind of shit you're into.
No, but I think like we can't have everything we have now.
Agree, but I don't think that needs to be discussed in terms of sacrifice. Like I think that's also the wrong way to frame it personally.
Well, yeah.
I think it's like it's a transformation. And like some of the shit we have now, we might still have. Some of the shit we won't have. We'll have a bunch of shit that we don't have now. Like it's a transition and a change and a like transformation. And I think that it's not necessary. I think talking about it in terms of sacrifice is unnecessary.
Well, I think
Personally.
that ethics are a really key political motivator, and so if you're able to sort of apply this ethical dimension to a problem that's ultimately less about like what is right and what is wrong, and more about like how we survive after shit changes, or like dealing with change is not necessarily an ethical thing, but
Interesting.
I'm
I'm really excited. I'm going to think about that for the rest of the day.
yeah, okay, cool.
Oh yeah,
Well, so-
ethics are
it
about
kinda makes
seeing
me
things.
think-
So
It makes
I'm
me-
like deeply invested in ethics, but I feel like there's ultimately this like ethics is a human centric thing. Like we have to deal with like when we're talking about ethics, we're talking about human behavior affecting humans ultimately. But this tends to be like the thing that is happening is humans existing within a system that is changing. Partly because of how humans have done it, but that's not ultimately an ethical thing that is happening. It is like a biological and environmental thing that is happening, which has no like ethical compunction. Like like the earth owes humans nothing, and in some ways humans owe the earth everything, but like because we're just a part of it. It's not, like we can feel like we owe it everything, but that's a crawling back into the womb sort of situation. So
I mean, we definitely do owe it everything, and the only polite thing to do is to leave it alone and go someplace else.
Yeah, I mean there's something to that. It's really, I mean it's a tricky situation.
But I guess
It's like a cake store. If you keep poking your tongue at a cake store trying to do something about it, it's just going to get worse.
True.
You got to cut your tongue out.
There you go.
There we go.
Cut off your nose to spite your face. That's what you're supposed to do.
All right.
I don't know. It's complicated. Ethics are important. Internet, do ethics. That's important.
But an important part of them is that they're made up.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't know. There seems like there's like the kid. Well, I mean, your argument seems to be like, let's not try to do better, and I'm worried about that.
I think it's the
not
idea
let's
that
not
better.
try, it's that
Better is a complicated thing.
I think
Yeah.
I think there's better. I think there's better.
I think there is.
I don't think better
It's not-
is
let's
that
not-
complicated. I think better is less suffering, more intelligence. So I get where you're coming. I'm concerned that you're using this as a way to like, I don't know, to make arguments that are less good. Like.
Okay, so what I'm thinking of
Yeah.
is like international travel or coast to coast travel in
Yeah.
a plane or
Right.
like
Yeah.
even
Right.
from here to New York in a car.
In an airplane.
Or
Yeah.
having
Or that
a-
everybody needs a car.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Those things, like, to describe, like, to the majority of people that are not in this room,
Yeah.
to remove those things is inconceivable. And thus
Right.
we start talking about sacrifice because it's like you're taking something
But
away.
you have to like get but I feel like you have to get to a point first with sort of more systemic and less individual things before it's necessary to talk about that.
Well,
Like
I think ethics, in a large part, is a way of helping humans understand themselves as a larger part of like the end goal of ethics is this kind of like, or I don't know, at least some ethics, not all ethics work this way, but like at least the idea of like liberal ethics is the idea of creating a larger community that you are understanding yourself as a component of. And so that's why it's an important political motivator. That's why it's helpful to say people like, we're doing the right thing by not destroying the environment or whatever. And like there's truth to that, but it's like a relative truth to it, when the objective truth of us like doing things that are better for the environment is like a much more like pinpoint. I don't know.
Right.
It's like there's a big picture thing that makes all of this stuff silly, but that doesn't mean that the silliness isn't important for us to try to make moves.
I want to know what Connor wants to say.
Yes.
I don't think. I think that there's a better way. I think that betterness exists. I think that it's only something you can recognize from hindsight. We can't stand here and say what would be better.
But then my argument is like, how does that go? Like, what do you do in that like, what that argument seems to lead down a path of I don't care.
Like nihilism.
Well, it's like
but I believe it, and I care so much.
Right.
Well, so you can understand. So there's well, I'll talk about philosophy.
But that's not an argument to not. He's not. I don't think Connor's making an argument to not do anything. Therefore,
it's important to
therefore
always
not
be doing things
And here's what
be fine when it's not better.
That's
And I
my
feel like here's
concern
what
with
the
what I'm hearing.
Kigwellism
I
thing
get.
is that
I get what you're saying, but
is
I
that
think that. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Like I don't think that not being inspired by the rhetoric that is occurring is the same as being nihilist. Like there's leaders that are saying this is how we're going to solve the thing.
Yeah.
And I can't be put in the position of either agreeing with them or being nihilist. You know, like there is.
Yeah.
Like,
that makes sense. Yeah.
And that's a weird place.
Well,
And that's how I feel about
there's this
climate change.
philosopher Richard Rorty who's kind of contentious depending on who you are, but like his ideas of liberal ironism, where there's like understanding reality ironically, or saying like, okay, like our understanding of this shit is not the one way that things are, or like, you know, science isn't this objective truth that we're approaching. However, the project of liberalism, of this kind of like expanding, is this idea of expanding what you think of as reality, or of specifically what you think of as us.
Yeah.
So there's this ethical component that focuses a more general understanding of subjectivity. So like you can say like whatever, everything's relative, like we don't, you know, perception is reality, we don't understand things as they truly are.
Mm-hmm.
However, we have to act as if some things are true. We have to like take on this. I think he talks about it as like a lexicon. So like you use a particular dictionary to understand reality, and you can understand that it's
what do they call it? Consensual reality.
Consensus.
Consensus reality.
Yeah, consensus reality. So it's like we have to operate. We have to operate within a consensus reality in order to make anything happen. And so like, but we have a better consensus reality when we have this larger understanding of what counts as us, which I think expands outside of just humans. Like us can be the planet.
Yeah.
So I think it's the kind of thing where like
Us is all of existence.
moral relativism can be a position that leads to nihilism, and can be a position that makes it easy for you to say, well, I could just not do anything.
But it's not it doesn't inherently.
But it does not require you to be nihilist.
Right.
And so having this focus on like, okay, like all meaning is constructed. That doesn't mean that it's not valuable.
Yeah.
Like, we construct meaning every day, and that becomes valuable.
Yeah, I think if you're clear on that, like if you feel like you thought this way, you've analyzed things, and you're critical of language that is about, I guess, progress. I think that's fine. I'm thinking about.
Well, Tim is reacting to but to be fair, you know that that's not where either of these people are coming from. It's just like.
I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. You know, like I don't know what we're in a complicated conversation right now. And I don't necessarily know where people stand.
Yeah.
I mean, it is complicated.
Yeah.
I think that progress is valuable and important. I generally will follow a progressive arc, but I think it's also important to note that, like, I don't know, like Bernie Sanders isn't a magic wizard.
Right. Yeah. Right.
He's
Or like-
definitely
or
not.
maybe-
He's the
or
best
like-
option.
Yeah, or like maybe
It does
like, you know,
seem like a magic
have-
wizard compared to every
Yes,
every other
that's
choice I've ever
sure.
had.
But like,
Right.
does
True.
this view
Yeah.
of him as a magic wizard, is it valuable? Maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't think he is, but maybe it's helpful.
I'm
To-
willing
to
to go
push
with it
this.
if other people are for at least the next couple of
certainly
months.
use a like straight up like morale boost. Like
Yep.
that would be
Yep.
useful.
Yes.
That would be a
And so I
useful.
keep saying we need a really funny president. This president's not funny. We need somebody who's really funny.
And he knows he's funny, I guess.
Well, someone who
funny
like,
for the right reasons.
Yeah. Somebody who can tell a joke that I like.
The Rock.
Exactly.
Ooh, he might be a Republican, but if he ran for president,
I don't care
I
if
would
he's a
maybe want to
Republican.
vote for him.
I think he'd be like a Schwarzenegger Republican, where he's like,
I think he'd
but
be
wait,
better than
but wait,
Schwarzenegger.
you don't like me? All right, let me do something you like.
Yeah.
He'd be like that kind of
Well,
politician.
I might have a incorrect picture of The Rock.
Yeah.
What do you need to know?
But I think that Arnold Schwarzenegger is an actual asshole that sucks, and I think that The Rock is the perfect man. I think he might have a kind and genuine soul. I could be totally wrong.
And they're
Do
both.
you think The Rock is the new son?
No. Oh
my
The
God,
Rock is
I-
so much better
Oh
than the
my
new
God.
son. The new son is an asshole.
I'm just kidding.
The Rock plays an amazing asshole, though, when it's required of him.
Sure, he's a good actor.
He's
Yeah.
What has he been in recently?
Fast and the Furious
That's
movies,
true.
Hobbs and Shaw.
Okay.
I'm
Jumanji?
basing most of this
Oh,
on
the Jumanjis are both very pretty.
The Jumanjis are great.
They're
I'm
weirdly
basing
good.
a lot of this on Southland Tales. I apologize.
Uh,
But it's the best movie!
Okay, I would like to say that I think we have now. I wanted to let that conversation like fully mature, but I think we've gotten
I
to that
think
point and we can
it's-
go
yeah.
back to the book
Yeah.
now. Because also, I think we could have a similarly really long conversation about what happens at the bottom of 343. Because we were on 342
Yeah.
this section, but there's some good ass shit that goes down in these like this like italic part down here.
Oh,
Yeah.
because prehistoric cultures endured
yeah.
for so many chiliads, they have shaped our heritage in such a way as to cause us to behave as if their conditions obtained today.
Yeah.
And the part right under that, like where he like gives it an example, is really interesting too. For example, the technology that once might have permitted Baldanders to observe all the actions of the hetman of the lakeside village has been dust now for thousands of years. But during the eons of its existence, it laid upon him a spell, as it were, by which it remained effective, though no longer extant.
Yeah. What does he mean by that?
It's just paradigm.
It's,
shit,
we all,
right?
we all,
I mean,
we
it's
all
like,
have in us the ghosts of long vanished things, fallen cities and marvelous machines.
So,
I took that to
They're
mean
good.
he watched the Hetman so long that he just knew him well enough that he knows what he's doing.
yeah.
or that the hetman has understood himself to be watched for so long
Exactly.
that even if no one's watching him, he behaves as if he
everyone
watched.
behaves as if the yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I
So,
see.
yeah, like the-
He's-
the
he's
ghost
acting
Great
on it,
understanding means that the technology doesn't need to be there anymore.
but- Yeah.
I know what it does.
Yeah,
And-
and
yeah.
and you gotta like the fucking DC sniper. I feel like really brought this out. The DC sniper could have disappeared and never been understood. We could never known how it would have happened, except like had to fucking get in that one weird fight with a 911 operator for no reason.
I don't know about this part.
Oh, you don't know about the end of the DC
I was in
sniper?
New York when the DC sniper was happening.
Okay. But the thing is, the DC sniper was committing these murders. They were committing these murders. And the police had no understanding of how it was happening. They had like the exact wrong idea of what kind of car they were in. And it was only because the sniper got into a stupid argument with a 911 operator and started saying shit that then they were able to connect it to another crime that he even got caught.
He was calling 911 to brag?
Yeah, well, I mean, he had a thing, you know.
Sort
He
of.
was leaving
He was
tarot
having an
cards
emergency.
and like giving messages to the. He was like playing with the media.
Tarot cards. I didn't know anything.
Oh yeah,
about that
I left the
part.
tarot
That's
card.
cool.
Also,
Yeah,
there was
that
a
DC
story.
Sniper rules.
The DC Sniper does fucking rule. It was crazy. There was a whole thing because he sniped certain people in Michael's parking lot. But then they started thinking there was an angelic connection, the Michael the Archangel.
Oh.
Anyway, the point
Already
is,
a DC Sniper Unabomber.
Yeah.
the point is, if you wanted to, like, I feel like what the DC Sniper proved, like, if you wanted to go do a reign of terror of murder, you can do it. That it is not really the law enforcement that prevents that. Like, it's not the abilities
Yeah.
of law enforcement that prevents it from happening. It is
It's
actually.
that everyone agrees that we're not doing that.
Yeah, it's an
totally.
active choice. People are
Well-
so much better than they are portrayed on TV. Where on TV, it's like there's a fucking serial killer around every corner, and it's only by these heroes who stop them that we're safe.
Well, and conversely, in TV, the bad guys get caught,
Right.
and in real life, they don't.
They
Right.
become
People don't want
president.
to commit crimes in case they get caught,
In
which
Baltimore,
probably
don't
they
get
won't.
But
Yeah,
what if you
and
reach a
just-
certain
and
level,
just-
you just do crimes, and then people don't do anything about it?
And
Yeah.
just in general, the idea of like our society is so fragile. Like and they're all held to, and it's all held together by these like agreements or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that you have like all of these like you have a store where there's just like one person working in the store. If someone wanted to go in and just like take all the shit in the store, they would just do it. It wouldn't be that hard. But and also like all the shit that Trump, all the illegal shit that Trump does, and like all of his everyone like. Because he's doing it flagrantly out in the open, it's like there's this thing where they're like, well, we gotta stop him from doing this. But then it's like there's no mechanism actually to stop him from doing it.
Yeah.
Like he can just do it.
Yeah. It's just like,
And it's a figment. Like that there is a mechanism, but that it's just the idea that there's a mechanism that keeps people. Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of Secret Service people could stop him from doing it.
Yeah.
A
Wouldn't,
coup.
wouldn't take much. Yeah.
Huh?
Well, I guess it. Yeah.
I mean, that's like a deep state coup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever Bill Maher's big thing is what happens when he loses the election, and doesn't leave.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
I'm like, doesn't the Secret Society just arrest him immediately because we've already established that he's done crimes and the only thing that's keeping him free is being president?
no, I think what happens is the Pentagon decides whether they want him to continue to be president or whether they would like him to be dead or in jail
Right.
or whatever.
And my point is, I think the Pentagon decided that long ago.
Yeah, definitely. Like the idea that, I mean, it's like, I don't know how else you could have a news, but the idea in the news is fucking insane that like these things are decided in real time and we're a participant in their fucking in the decisions.
Right.
It's
Right.
so insane.
Yeah.
It's like you have to be a crazy person to believe in non-fake news. But we can't have conversations with each other without making that the baseline assumption. It's like no wonder we're all fucking nuts and neurotic. Like the place we have to start is just is accepting that crazy is normal.
Yeah. There's no firm ground to stand on.
There is none. It's
we're at
disorienting.
sea.
We are.
Wait, I've gotten confused. Are we complaining about being at sea, or are we admitting that being at sea is the only thing you can be, and we should just make peace with that?
I think
Both.
Yeah, both. It's like-
I'm only talking about the second one. I think it's great.
I think the second one is true, but that doesn't make it easy.
It's the reason to complain about being at sea is because people are constantly acting as if we're not at sea.
Right.
You know, it's disorienting to be at sea and then have to have conversations where everyone's assuming that like, oh, isn't it nice how the stable ground is like this?
Right.
It's a little wiggly over there. Don't go over there. Maybe
Totally.
they'll fix that.
Totally.
Yeah, like that is.
It's infuriating.
What am I supposed to do except live in an imaginary world and spend all my time in places that make sense because they have been thought out through,
and then
deliberately.
make up your own imaginary world and try to infect other people with it.
There's a third really good paragraph at the end
Shit.
of this chapter, I might add, about how
A third
many-
good paragraph in
about
this
how
book?
many
Yeah.
more dead people there are than living people.
Oh yeah.
Forever.
We're getting to Blake's Jerusalem.
really scary about
It's
zombie
so
Everything-
great.
Most beautiful children are dead.
Oh,
Most
It's
soldiers,
so
most cowards.
awesome.
Thank you.
Their bodies repose in caskets and sarcophagi beneath arches of root stone everywhere under the
Oh
earth.
yeah, it's so goth.
Their spirits haunt our minds, ears pressed to the bones of our foreheads.
Who can say how intently they listen as we
And for
speak,
what
or
word?
for what word? It's so good. It's
Yeah,
so
that's good.
fucking good. That's 3 in 2 pages. Three
Yeah.
3 paragraphs, 3 pages.
Did you
3,
talk
like-
about the term protoplasmic reality?
No.
Oh no, that's great too.
It is fun.
It's like
I was just
between
learning
those two
about that.
things. It's after the Baldanders thing when he's talking about the Navis kaput. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Navis kaput.
Yeah.
Boathead.
And this is the flip side of like the belief in linear progress. Is like there's this idea that it goes towards better, but then there's also this idea that what's past is done and gone and completed.
And it's
just
that's
live
where
on top of
progressives
it
fail.
forever.
But yeah, nothing.
linear
is-
reality.
Yeah, nothing.
And it's
is,
why conservatives win, even though they shouldn't, because they know that reality is cyclical.
they knew it deep.
Oh, I would
they don't
love-
know it. You know, it's like they don't know it here. They know it here.
Yeah, because they live in a reality where you don't know things here. You only know things here.
It's
I've
It's
been reading
funny.
about the bicameral mind.
it's funny.
Oh yeah, that's cool, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe it, but it makes me feel like
I think it makes a lot of sense.
Can't it be
conservatives still are
possible
like that.
to like synthesize the like?
What?
I would like to
It
think
can
that
be
there's.
possible.
I would like to think that there's a way to like take the best of both approaches.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is why I feel
Which is
like
what I
sometimes it's like there should be more nuance in our discussion of centrism, because I feel like for a lot of people online, like criticism of centrism like implies that an extreme is desirable. You know, that like if you're in the middle of then
we're
you're
looking at different parts of the internet because I feel that people imply that centrism is desirable.
yeah, my feeds are curated such to only
Well, the
be
thing
like
is that
far
centrism
left,
in
you
this country is like our far left is
that's
not that
gotta be
far
true.
left. Like
Right.
centrism
Yeah.
is being
Is-
right wing.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
even the
Yeah,
people
our
that
far
are,
left is right wing.
Even
Right,
people
right.
on the far
So-
left are like still obsessed with punishment.
That's
still
what I'm saying.
obsessed
That's
with,
what I'm
like,
saying. That's what I'm
you know.
saying. So like it's all of our labels are wrong anyway. So it's kind of like moot
Yeah.
to even.
well, but we're
The
About
idea
them.
that it's a like that it's
Yeah.
a one spectrum that has two
Totally.
termini.
Right.
right,
Totally.
and I feel like
And that's why Bernie's so crazy.
And that's why, and centrism is the wrong word because it reinforces this image,
Yes.
this very like calcified
polarity.
image.
This
Yeah.
is what The Hill is. Does anybody watch The Hill? Rising on the Hill? It's a news thing with Crystal Ball.
What?
Oh, but I have
like
heard
Crystal
her
Ball.
talk.
She's
Yeah.
amazing, and,
She's
and
Yeah,
that
she's
whole
a
show
Yeah.
is about like she's the new left, and her co-host is the new right, and it's like, well, this is where we're at. We're not on left and right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is ridiculous to
It's-
think that it's this simple.
Yeah.
And that image is so calcified, and it's like even when you talk about the nuances about how it works, that still underneath it all is an image that like asserts its own reality upon
Totally.
your mind.
Yeah.
And oh my god, we have to like it's the thing. Like I agree with the things people say about centrism, but I hate the fucking term.
The terms are bad. The
The
terms
term-
are terrible.
I feel
All
like-
of the terms are terrible.
We're
Because it doesn't
crazy
exist.
about
in
it.
Yeah, we got-
space.
we got
We're
a
talking
bad
about it like
dictionary.
it's a
Yeah,
spatial
all
thing.
of our terms are bad. All of our political terms are bad, and they're bad by design. Also,
And
Yeah.
for,
I mean,
there
there's
has-
a reason that they're inaccurate
Yeah.
and bad, and that's because they're then allowed
Yeah.
to be used in these like kind of moving around nebulous ways to mean all kinds of different
Yeah.
things to different people. Like
Yeah.
centrist and moderate mean very different things to different people.
Yeah.
Like that's not a thing. It's not a thing, and like
Yeah.
conservative is barely
to
even a
bring
thing
this all
anymore.
back to your idea of synthesis is that like balance is necessary, and then it's hard to talk about
Balance between what? Yeah,
right,
it's like
between what like and is I feel like
Well,
for a
and
lot of
there's-
people balance then just comes to mean a little bit of left, a little bit of right. Now you're in the center. Fuck
which
that.
which also doesn't exist because there's no like compromise between like corporate like stranglehold power and
Right.
like human beings having any rights. Like there's no
There- yeah.
there's no
You can't
compromise
split
between
the
those two.
difference.
I
You
mean-
can't be like, how about we have like a little bit of total oppression? Like it doesn't you can't compromise between those two.
Well, it's because I think it's inherent in the nature of balance. Where like if you have two things and you want to balance them, you don't do it from here, you do it from up here. You hang them from something to get them.
It's a
to balance.
triangle.
Right.
Yeah.
And so every time you need to make more balance, you have to step orthogonic to your entire reality.
Yeah.
So you always need to be moving in the direction you can't see,
Yeah.
that you don't even know exists yet.
And you know, and you have to be backing into it too.
Yeah.
Keeping your eyes on what you're seeing. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is why I'm hopeful and think that we're in the best possible world right now. Because that's what is happening. We hate that it's happening. It hurts us. Growing sucks.
I
But
love
that's
it.
what this is. Well, I mean, most people don't.
Yeah,
Most
for
people
sure.
are very upset about the world today.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
It is.
I am upset about things though. I am upset about certain things.
Yeah.
But I also
You get pissed
think
off about
some
how much
other
people
things
accept
are
it.
very funny.
No,
It
for
is
sure.
funny.
Yeah.
Even
is
in their
funny.
terror, in their sheer terror. Like
even things that infuriate me are hilarious.
that's what I'm. That's
Yeah.
why I said they're funny in their sheer terror.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Sometimes
yeah.
in their in the perfection of the problems is really funny.
Like how fucking Michael Bloomberg is gonna run
Oh,
Hillary
yeah.
Clinton as his running mate.
Yeah.
It's
And
a
making
crystal.
memes.
So
It's a
ridiculous.
perfect fucking crystal
And he's
of
paying
reality
people
that
to
would
make
happen.
memes.
And he and the thing about how he was using prison labor to make campaign phone calls. Like it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
fucking crystal.
And it
it's a
will be
perfect.
so funny when he wins.
He's a perfect crystal.
Oh man, he's not winning.
I don't think he
Unless he
will.
pays
I really
for
don't
it.
think he
It's-
will. But
I think it's
I'm not
almost
gonna
too
say he
cynical.
definitely
Like,
won't,
it's-
but I don't.
it's
I
so
won't be
cynical
surprised
that
if
it's like
Pegasus wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
yeah.
It's getting to a point though where it's like we win no matter what now. The shit is so fucking out in the open and like
It's falling
In,
apart.
in
Yeah.
a way, I think
Winning
that's
and
true.
losing is a state of mind.
yeah.
I think that's Ryan's point.
Yes, it totally.
Okay, yeah, maybe not winning, losing. We will gain much from any outcome to this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the veneer of the mainstream media is kind of starting to fall back. Like the curtain is being pulled back, no matter how.
It
hard
almost
they
feels
try,
like it was.
Did you
it was
guys
like
see
they
that
were
clip?
doing this and then oops. Oh, all
It's-
right. I guess down
Did
here
you
now.
guys see that clip? Did you guys see that clip of the middle-aged lady in New Hampshire
Plutocracy?
talking to the?
Oh, she's like, I
talking
voted
to-
Sanders
to-
because of MSNBC.
Yeah.
And he's
Did you
like,
guys see
oh,
that
really?
clip? It's
Why? And
so-
she's like, well, you refused
you
to
guys-
cover him fairly
You
well
guys
at all.
obviously
so.
hate him so much that I
Yeah.
just had to vote for him. She's like, and she was like one of these people who's like, there's so many good candidates to choose from, and I still don't even know which one's the best one. But I had to pick Bernie because you guys fucking hate his guts
It's like-
so hard.
yeah, it's like you
and
pissed
the
me
guy
off
with the
so
MSNBC guy was just like, oh.
Oh, really? Yeah. Wow. Great. Tell me more about that.
Next?
And then he goes, I see. I knew you were complex. What a weird thing to say to a person.
What a condescending.
He
dude.
just had nothing else.
Yeah.
That was the nicest thing he could. The nicest thing he could say.
Yeah.
Oof.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
yes.
We're almost done. We got 2 more chapters.
I don't know if we're going to get through this.
I think the second
Yeah.
chapter is
I
very
think,
short.
I think we might have.
We only have
This-
like 4
yeah, this chapter's
pages.
like
we have like
3
4 or
pages.
5 pages. And there's not that much in here, I don't think.
So wait, he gets slapped in the face. Is that insane?
Oh, right,
Is
yeah.
it? Is it
Oh,
140?
Agia?
Yeah.
No. Oh, it is. Jesus
yeah, it's
Christ, how
140.
did that happen?
Oh god.
I swear to God, I looked at my clock several times. It was never this late before.
That is inherently true.
You're experiencing time wrong. It's always been this late.
Yeah, in a sense, it has always been this late, and it will always be this late.
Okay, all right.
Severian gets a bat sucking on him.
Yeah.
Vampire bat.
I like
Turn of
that.
the blood bath.
It's a very
We talked
Short
about
sun.
them already. Yes, it is.
in a jungle getting sucked on by a bat is
Yes,
like
it
short
is.
sun. That's what short sun's all about.
Getting sucked down by that.
You do get a little bit of a sense that at the end, I don't know where we are actually, but at the end of
348.
at the end of 37, it seems like Vogelus,
33, 37?
348
at
is
the end of
chapter 37.
before.
Oh, that's just
Oh, end of chapter 37.
I'm looking at the chapter
Who's on
before
first?
Vogelus.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I think we kind of got through that, right? But it seems like Vogelus kind of thinks Severian is the Autarch.
Mm-hmm.
he's outsmarting himself. He knows
Yeah.
that he's the Autarch, but now he's doubting himself because Severian's so stupid.
Yeah.
But also,
Well-
Severian's not yet the Autarch, so it's
Right.
it's like a what?
I don't know. I'm still thinking.
I mean, I think I
Just had to make
I would-
a motion
Like
about
you
it.
wanted to
Yeah,
talk.
I think with my
I'm
body.
thinking.
I'm
That's
thinking.
fair. Yeah, of course.
I'm just thinking.
I do that when
So you
people
know,
aren't
I'm
around.
Like vote. I think this like battle of wits in a way, or not that Severian sort of like somehow participating in this weird battle of wits here. It seems like Votalus, it sort of sits back and assesses the situation and seems like you're probably the Autarch, but he doesn't exactly know what to do in this situation. So he
I think
kind of
that's
plays it out.
I think that Votalus is more right than either us or Severian. I think that is exactly how much of an Autarch Severian is right now.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah, you're kind of the Autarch, but
I see.
like he has
He's
a
not.
98% possibility of becoming the Autarch. He is, but not yet. But he is.
I guess if he assumes he's the Autarch, Severian's not going to be able to do any things that he would want the Autarch to do.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he is destined to be the Autarch, but he can't perform the function of an Autarch for Votalus right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, Votalus can't jinx it.
Yeah, I
You
guess.
know. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, he has the Autarch, but only if he lets him go become the Autarch.
Yeah,
yeah,
which
yeah.
means he's gotta let him go. Like,
Yeah.
it's a tough fucking.
Yeah.
It's why
But
you
he
can't kill
largely,
baby Hitler.
but he also largely thinks that he is the Autarch because he has it on good information that he is the Autarch, because the actual Autarch has never failed him before as a servant.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. But if his goal is to kill the Autarch, and he kills Severian right now, he is not killing the Autarch. He's killing the person who would be an Autarch, and somebody else will be the
I
Autarch.
see.
Right.
Yeah.
This is like
If you
the,
kill baby Hitler, you're just killing a baby.
Yeah.
This is in the Princess Bride, the switching around the.
That's right.
Mhm.
I was
There's a
totally
total
thinking
Vizzini
about that.
moment.
I was totally thinking about that
Yeah.
mostly because of how dumb Severian is.
And
how
Wallace
I
Shawn
killed
was in the
that
episode of DS9 I watched this morning.
Wallace Shawn's also been all over the news recently.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's Bernie supporter.
Yeah, he endorsed Bernie.
Oh, is that why? I just saw that he was
Big
there. I didn't
endorsement.
read why.
Yeah,
Nice.
baby. Bernie gets
Nice.
all the screwballs. I love
He gets all
it.
the cool ones.
I love it.
You know what great movie Wallace Shawn is in? Southland Tales. Best
I've never,
movie. Everyone is in it.
I've
He's also in all the
never
Toy
heard of
Stories.
this.
Oh yes, he is.
Killer movie.
Good play.
Oh, you guys
And
we
he's the
only have,
poet,
like,
right?
3 pages
He's a playwright.
left.
Playwright.
Might be a
playwright.
And poetry too, I think. Yeah.
Makes sense.
All right.
And 2 first names.
Wallace Shawn 2020. All right.
Oh, so now we go
Yeah,
into
both
the
roll.
now we go into the House Absolute.
Yeah, with this 0 gravity
Fuck yeah.
7th level ritual here.
Mhm.
Awesome.
7th level.
Yeah, you say it's the 7th level.
Of the
Sure.
the level
I don't think the 7th level has enough meaning for me to be able to say that it is that.
the
Well-
level of assimilation.
Okay.
That's
Right,
what he
well-
says. Yeah.
And
The gatherings and public petitionings that I, as a boy, thought constituted the whole of organized religion are actually at the 2nd level, which is that of integration. What we did today belonged to the 7th and highest, the level of assimilation.
And the priests here are called heptarchs, and hept is the 7.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a song by some pirate.
And 7 is the number of days in the week, and also numbers of letters in the musical scale.
And the number of planets there are.
The visible heavenly bodies are classical planets. as
Yeah,
they're
it's
called.
like
Well,
the most holy number.
Never mind.
Yeah, the number of days of creation.
Since we've gotten
with
rid
the
of
rest.
Pluto, you can argue that there's 7 planets again.
How?
But either way, you're doing the 13th sign thing. It doesn't
Yeah.
fucking matter.
Yeah, it's all the 13th sign thing.
No, the
Like,
set.
that's what magic is. Right?
What?
It's all made up.
Right, but my made up will be better than your made up if I ground it in the 7.
What?
If I ground my made up in the classical 7, mine's made up's going to be more powerful than yours.
I beg to differ. Mine is current and modern.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're-
like,
you're
your
just-
classical 7 includes the sun and the moon, so they're not really planets. My modern 7 just takes out the Earth and Pluto.
Modern, from your culture that's existed for like your country's been around 200 years.
That's
And
right, my fresh new thing that's supplanted yours.
Yeah.
No, it hasn't
This is
supplanted it at
great.
all. My thing has
Oh,
never
man.
died since before ancient Egypt.
And has produced my thing, clearly the epitome of it.
I love it. I love this so much.
We'll see. We'll see.
We will. In the future, where my stuff exists.
So this ceremony had previously been carried out in space, but now they just have a 0G chamber. That's an interesting thing.
I don't know. I hadn't gotten
It is
this far
no
in my
longer
current
possible. It is no longer possible for us to carry out the ceremony as once we did, wrapped in the shining belt of the galaxy. But to achieve the effect as nearly as possible, Earth's attractive field was excluded from the basilica.
Yeah.
But they can go to space.
They can go to
I
space.
wonder why they don't.
Maybe the basilica is in space.
That is what I was thinking.
But
Like
then,
kind of in the way that the when he goes up in the whatever, it's in the, I think it's in Sword Collector.
Earth's attractive field was excluded
guy.
from the basilica. I think that seems
It's
to
a
imply
0G
pretty heavily
chamber.
that they are on Earth and they are negating gravity on Earth.
Yeah.
They're in the House Absolute, I thought.
Yeah, I think you're
right,
right.
but like actual location and space and everything isn't always.
I guess in the House Absolute you can go through a
Yeah,
door
that-
and end up out. in
True.
space.
The
that's
House
very
Absolute
true.
is-
Yeah,
yeah.
totally,
Yeah.
totally.
So like it maybe feels like it's on Earth, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it is on Earth.
Or even in space.
Sure.
And technically, Earth is in space, so if you're on planet Earth, you are in space.
That's right. We're traveling through. We're time travelers.
I'm
right
in
now.
space right now,
Woo, we got that sleepover.
Kermit
energy
voice.
happening.
I've had so much
Kermit
coffee.
voice
I
comes
feel
out. We're
crazy.
fucked up, y'all.
I have to eat something immediately after leaving.
Is there any more coffee in that coffee cup?
No.
No, we blasted it. No, coffee's gone.
We blasted all the
I
coffee.
feel like the obelisk has more coffee than that thing. Right.
Yeah, maybe.
He said it was the same amount.
Same amount.
He's full of shit.
Coming for
People
you.
were pouring the big cups, I feel like.
Could have been.
I didn't have any of that.
Oh damn.
Wow.
Peanut butter
Wow.
on your nose.
Wow.
I just wanted everybody's math to be accurate.
I had like this much.
I had this much twice.
Connor's
This much
arguing that he
twice.
did not have an impact on existence because he didn't have
No, I had an impact on existence by not drinking some of that coffee.
Oh, yes.
And we had impacts on existence by drinking all that coffee.
Wow.
Wow.
You wouldn't have been able to drink all of it if I had some.
Alright, this is over now.
I think it's cool that the skulls flying around him are like whistling in the air.
Oh, we jumped right over the leech fucking the boy, right?
Yeah, we did.
he's like, no, it's not what you think. He,
Yeah.
the youthful breath rejuvenates my body. I don't fuck him. I just sleep next to him.
And Severian's
Yeah.
like, he definitely fucks him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But does it? What does that even tell us?
Yeah, is that just what Severian would do?
Severian.
Well, it's
fucks-
also
yeah.
what Severian experiences. I mean, we've all agreed that Severian was
Touched.
yeah, somehow in some way.
So, in a way, are we
Yeah.
learning a lesson here about judging anyone we think is obviously a pedophile? Like, are we always being
Man,
Severian?
you're on a fucking roll today.
I would not put the pedophile. Okay, Unabomber just good. DC Sniper not good, but exposing something that is kind of like a weird, indirect, bad person doing a good thing. The pedophile not good at all, but you know what I'm saying? It's like when we say, "Oh, that person, Michael Jackson definitely fucks kids." Are we not being Severian in that moment and saying like, "Well, I can only imagine being in a bed with a kid and fucking him, so he must fuck him."
I was so with you up until the end of
Anyway.
that. I thought that we were going to
evidence
argue
for the
that,
Michael
that
Jackson.
Michael Jackson fucks kids because the CIA fucked him up in his youth.
Oh well, I think Joe Jackson. fucked
There
him up.
is-
You don't need to bring the CIA into it.
Joe Jackson's by the CIA.
You do? Oh,
Listen to Oprah. Oprah talks about how Michael Jackson's a CIA.
Dude, child abuse
Wow.
is a function of global power.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
You're irremovable from it.
and perhaps even like written into certain families and fraternities.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like it. Like
Oh, we
Sacredness
should-
is part. Is abuse.
It's what
you guys
bonds
did
you to
bring
the-
Caroline in for a guest episode on that whole topic. She would just like lay some fucking shit out for you.
Yes, you would.
That was in that really good book Tim Kinsella wrote about the Bush family that just came out this year or last year.
Really?
I mean, fucking Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's all just not conspiracy theory anymore. It's all just things that
Out
are
there.
right there.
And Pete, Mayor Pete is fucking CIA. Also.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just all
Definitely.
just,
You can tell by looking at him.
Let's just get that out there.
Shadow Inc. Come on.
No, you don't
come
even have
on.
to. You don't even. McKinsey.
They're not even trying
Yeah,
anymore.
Kinsey.
Dude was while he was working for McKinsey, he just like went, or no, while he was doing some kind of like consulting, maybe for McKinsey, like in Iraq or something, he went on a vacation to Somaliland where he was hanging out with his like college friend who worked for USAID, which is CIA.
Yeah,
Like
that-
they were doing Anyway, Mayor Pete is fucking
He's
CIA. He is the most evil of
Which
the
would
whole
make
bunch.
you think
Yep.
that the fucking app shit that went down in Iowa would have been more like graceful and less like fumbled.
I
You've been
think
paying
the- I
attention to the
think the
CIA for the past 20 years.
Yeah, the CIA
they're
is
not
really
good at
bad
stuff.
at it now. Like, they were
They used
good
to
at
be
it.
better.
Yeah,
They used to be better. But then they
COINTELPRO
fucked up the Iran-Contra things.
COINTELPRO was a very effective program, and I still think that they have programs that are very effective, mostly domestically.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I think their domestic programs are like Mayor Pete are like more successful.
They're
But
next level programs.
but also there's plenty of like bungling tech bros all over doing all kinds of bullshit.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That seems like a problem you can solve with money. That you can just buy the dude who made the app that works and get him to make yours work.
Apps don't work.
I think that might. be
you
the
don't
issue,
think
is
that the fact of it being all confused
Oh.
is the point?
No,
Yeah,
I do.
Jen has the other point.
I do.
Yeah,
I do. But I feel like it was too. I don't know. I
Too
feel like,
obvious?
Yeah, it was.
I think a lot of like normal people think that just is what happened.
I think that you're right, but and then perhaps in a way that it's good to taunt us. It's good to make us like see CIA, so that normal person can go, all right, I will.
Uh-huh.
You know, like I'm gonna have to raise my threshold for what I consider to be
Yeah.
not weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could be right. I do. I don't know. I just feel like if I was working for them, I would make it a little nicer.
They
you know?
gave him 72 hours where the media could just be like, Pete won.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
And that's
pretty
the new
useful.
cycle.
And he
Yeah.
came out and said, I won.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
And then he
Yeah,
did it
but,
again.
and,
He
but,
did it
but
again
not
in
only did he
Hampton.
come out and say I won that night before like
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
actually happened,
Yeah.
but then there were 3 days where
Yeah.
the media could be like Pete won, like
Yeah.
it could just reverberate for a few days.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
And it didn't achieve real. I mean, it achieved its desired effect for like like a lot of
It did
people
pretty
that
good.
don't really want to be worried about anything. But it didn't actually stop the fucking momentum of the other thing.
No, but now but it's like changing. Not necessarily. It doesn't change reality, but it does change how people talk about reality. Where now in New Hampshire, people are like, "Wow, like." They haven't said even that Bernie has won.
Yeah.
Like it's changed
Right.
how we can present
Dude, I
narratives.
saw this like I don't remember if it was
Well,
like
it's
8
like,
million or
well, he didn't get nearly as many voters
Right.
in New Hampshire this time as he did last time.
which
It's
is
like,
hilarious.
it's like there are only 2 people running
There
last
was
time.
literally
Yeah.
a headline tweet from I think Reuters
Yeah.
that was like
Yeah.
was like
Klobuchar
Pete
surprises.
finishes second
Yeah.
in New Hampshire, Klobuchar a strong third, and they just
Yeah.
like
Right.
left Bernie out of it completely.
Yeah.
Well, that
Yeah.
was their headline.
They
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
they
As
had
if
this
there was no
image.
first
I think
place.
on like probably
It's amazing.
MSNBC or CNN, and it was. It showed like the contrast. Like, oh, Bernie had 26% of the vote, but
Yeah.
Buttigieg.
Oh yeah, all the moderates
everyone
combined
else
are
had,
crushing.
had
Bernie.
way more. And it was
It's
like,
awesome.
what the
It's
fuck is
awesome.
that?
Maybe you guys should
That's
rally.
so
Maybe you guys should rally behind
But
one
it's-
candidate. Then you fucking morons.
Just how they're like
Yeah.
presenting.
Like, awesome.
This was
awesome.
what Crystal Ball was saying.
But
Awesome.
the
Yeah.
narrative
Fucking
about
awesome.
it is just so bizarre and off the wall now, and I feel like Iowa was the beginning of that. Where
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, we can just someone will just say that he won.
Dude,
And then-
the Onion
They are
article.
really
The
rolling
Onion.
the dice on this.
The Onion
they are,
headline
yeah.
is like the Onion headline was like Sanders
Plummets
loses to
upward.
Klobuchar and Buttigieg for key contest for second and third place. Sanders loses to Buttigieg and Klobuchar in key contest for second and third place.
There was
It's
also-
so good. It's like not
Yeah.
even a parody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Our
If
world
I
is
worked
not
for the
even a
CIA,
parody.
I would make sure that the jokes that you would make on their side would be better than the ones we can make on our side. But the ones that like there's the humor fucking dynamic is totally fucked now.
Yeah.
Like the things that they say are trying to be serious about are so
Hilarious.
comical
Yeah.
Yeah.
that you can just repeat them and giggle about them.
Yeah, it's true.
That's where I feel like the CIA has fallen on their ass here. They
I
need
mean, they're
to.
bad at their job.
They are.
Yeah, they are.
It's interesting to
They're
watch
squares.
the
That's why they
funny.
committed.
They couldn't even do Venezuela.
yeah.
No,
fucked
they
it
fucked
up.
that up
Yeah,
real
they-
bad.
They fucked it up, and that's like their thing that they're best at.
Yeah.
Rules.
George Herbert Walker. I wonder what he's doing now. Is he just watching this and being like, "Fuck these new kids. These millennials can't do shit." Like, what is
Isn't
the?
his liver slowly rotting away, and that's what he's probably thinking about?
Yeah, I mean,
Isn't he on death's door?
Yeah, isn't he dead?
No,
All the way dead?
Wait, which one are you talking about?
George H.W. Bush.
Oh yeah, HW's dead.
He's dead.
Yeah, he died like last year.
Oh.
There you go.
And,
I
and
knew his
all
liver
of
was
the, and
gone.
all of the articles were just about how he was like a funny dad with like or like a nice dad, like a loving dad who wore funny socks.
Yeah.
Yep.
And how much
his,
we
and
miss
his
him.
son,
And how much-
notable artist
How
George
much
W.
we
Bush.
miss him because Trump sucks so bad.
But he also killed JFK.
He sure did.
And hundreds of thousands of other people.
Right.
Literal.
Almost
literal,
killed Reagan.
literal war.
You kill the
criminal.
president, you become the president.
That's what happened.
How it works.
That's what. Yeah.
Okay,
that's why I got fucked up
so-
when he shot Reagan and Reagan didn't die.
Do we have anything else we want to say about the ritual?
We can come back to
It's
this.
I
chapter.
want to come. Yeah, I want to come back to it. I think we're.
You
we're
want
in a
to
different-
okay?
let's-
You
we're in
want
a
to
different
go
place now.
start at
28.
28.
Yeah,
let's start.
let's
It
start.
is a very natural
Yeah.
punctuation.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
How far are we going till next time?
All the way.
Eight.
Oh yeah. How many?
Well, the
are-
thing is, we can say we'll
There's-
go all the way. We will never.
There's
fucking-
a lot coming up is the thing.
Well, let's just read till the end,
Yeah.
and then we'll get as far as we can.
Yeah, I
And
feel
think
like
that's-
we're at the point where we should just
It's
try
50.
to finish it every day.
It's
I mean, that's what
50
happens
Every meeting. We try
every
to
time we
finish
get
it
close
every-
to the end of a book.
Yeah,
we just like.
we try to finish it every meeting until we actually do.
Yeah,
Well, it might
exactly.
be good to have like maybe we cover a good amount of it in the next one, but then we have kind of like maybe a retrospective
Mhm.
afterwards, or just do the last couple chapters and try to I don't know like reflect. I mean, is
Yeah,
it or do you
definitely.
want to just march
I mean,
on?
we will
I don't
have
know.
finished the whole book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about the
Yeah,
whole thing more.
right. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm,
I was-
I'm,
yeah,
I'm
having
picturing
some
like
retrospective
two.
Ooh,
before we
I'm
go
so-
into
I'm
it,
like,
I think
I'm
it's-
picturing
Man,
two
Earth.
two segments for New Sun, but I don't know if y'all agree. But
I think probably we got another 2 meetings on this.
Yeah, but no more.
Realistically.
We can finish it in 2.
I think
Yeah.
we can too.
yeah,
Yeah.
two for sure.
We we needed some kind of shock collar system. I feel like.
Yeah.
2.
What whenever we say
Rain us in.
Sanders for like
Like,
the,
Like
the
there should be a
26
button in the middle.
hours.
We all have shock collars, and anyone at any time can just go. And we're
I do that.
Yeah.
Well,
Bring in a taboo.
you're like the CIA. You used to be really good at that.
No. I would argue that our aside conversations have just gotten better and more useful.
I agree with
I
that.
think that, and
Yeah.
also I think that as you get to the end of the works, all of the shit gets exploded out into universal shit way more. I am
All things
honestly,
are relevant.
I swear to God, every time we've done that today, that's why
Yeah.
when it gets to the point where he starts talking about that fucking movie again, I just like,
Southland Tales
Yes.
is the ultimate.
I'm just saying,
That is the shock collar.
I'm just,
Something.
no,
That's what it
I'm
goes.
just
That's
saying,
what it
I'm
goes.
still doing my job.
No, I agree. I also agree that it's more necessary to have some of these versions right now because if I
Well,
just
there's
don't
the-
talk to you guys and talk to other people, I feel fucking insane.
Well, the
Right.
point of these books is to do that, and it's
Yeah.
just you can do that more the further into the books.
Another
you get.
interesting thing is that over the course of the series, like we talk about the book, but then we have like themes we go back to. Like we oftentimes go back to time, discussions
This
of
book
politics.
is about the nature of reality,
Like,
and
it's-
so we have to do
But
that.
it's interesting that
Bible
it's-
Part 3.
We've picked
Yeah.
up our own we have like our own content. Like we talk about, we have political conversations that build off of each other. That build off the book over the course of.
Yeah.
We apply
My
all
point
of our-
is,
in the book.
my
our
point
lives.
is that I don't
Yeah.
stop those conversations
Yeah.
because they're necessary to our club.
They're
When we start talking about jizz too long, I'm gonna slap the fucking collar.
You slap the jizz out of
I
the
would like to
conversation.
say that I only bring up Southland Tales when we come to the point of the conversation where it is. I do not choose to bring it up.
Yes.
It's just there. I say it, then we know to stop.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm not even
that's why it's
faulting
a
you
good
for talking
indicator.
about. I'm
That's
not
the
even faulting
indicator
you.
that we
I'm
have to
just
go back to the
saying
book.
that
Southland Tales.
I'm just saying that I
We're at
have
Southland
certain.
Tales.
I am discerning.
All roads
I'm
lead
not
to
just
Southland.
We
checked
gotta
out of
go
my
back to
job.
the
I'm
book.
doing my job.
Because everybody's in
All right, so when do we say the day? Do we pick the day?
Yes.
Then we can put that on the stream, and hopefully it'll
2
be
weeks.
true
2
still.
weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
That'd be fun.
Is that the 23rd? Because the 23rd.
No, the
No, that's
23rd
next
is 1
week.
week.
Okay, good. I own
March 1st would be 2 weeks from now.
Wait a minute. What
I think I can do that.
is happening?
I
I'm into March
am-
1st.
Yeah, I'm open to it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all read up at this point, right?
My
So
my
we're
personal
ready to
my
go.
personal like way of thinking about this is like we try to do it in 2 week sections, and
Let's
if,
do it.
and then whatever
and
we
if it
can, we
fails,
have to
that's
push
okay.
it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Yes.
All right.
not if it fails, but if people.
If we fail.
The only way it fails is by people scheduling over something that's already been scheduled.
Wicked burn, y'all.
All right.
All right.
I'm gonna go.
Bye, Internet.
Thanks for
Thanks.
watching. the
Thanks
whole
for
thing.
chatting. Thanks for chatting. That was cool. Whoever you are.